Good evening, everyone. My name is Binks, and you are tuned into NECC Rainbow Six Champions Cyan Division. We're going to have Lebanon Valley College taking on UND Green, and it's still going to be an absolutely wonderful matchup. And I'm joined by the one and only man of class. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Rainbow Six night on NECC is always a good night to be, and tonight I'm on. So let's get this game started. I hope the players have not been waiting for us for too long. But as I understand it, they are ready to go.
I think we are on the same page for that, and we're going to jump over quickly to our map ban so we can see what maps we will be going to. And it looks to be pretty similar or pretty standard, as we have Chalet, Consulate, Skyscraper, and Border all getting taken out during the ban phase. And then we have Bank, Clubhouse, Cafe, Oregon, all in that order, and Labs. One of the first times we might actually see Labs here as our decider on the night. So LVC going with their first map pick of Bank. And they'll be starting on the attacking side. I think this is going to be a really interesting way to start things up, as Bank has a lot of different layers of depth that it can bring, especially if you need to bring a hard breach.
Yeah, we're really talking about a place like Bangkok. You have those really large open areas that sometimes become relevant, but a lot of the time you do get into those corridors. The elevator shaft is always one to really cover, and then when you have to get into the actual vaults, into the offices, like you said, the hard breach is going to potentially become a necessity. And Bank is with all the reworks that it has gone through, always been a very fascinating place for that.
I think that it will really be able to show some depth here. And I want to go and highlight. We can look at the records of both these teams and their differential. Great stats as we go spiraling into our ban phase. I'm looking to see something pretty standard. Maybe get like the Ying off the board. Or wow, that can be the Habana as well. Good reason to do that is we have a whole bunch of hatches in the drops that we don't want to have to contend with too much, especially along that first floor. So I think we could see a lot of more prominence in the basement site. But I'm definitely looking for on our secondary ban. I still feel like we could have a Ying or just maybe any sort of soft breach gone, but it's going to be the Nook, and I do feel like these are probably quite educated bands, and Nook's ability to just round corner and jump all across the map undetected was definitely something prominent on Bank.
Yeah, it very much is. Of course, those are the attackers banned out, and you can look over to the defenders. Um, Bans are, I mean, yeah, Solus is not a huge
That's a
surprise coming
no-brainer.
out here. I was gonna say, I mean, you always have like that one. You're like, yeah, that's probably gonna get banned out. But with the operators increasing over the years, it's become harder and harder to really predict it. And the Azami getting out as well on the other side. We will see, well, we won't see those four operators, but luckily there's plenty left for these teams to play with. And this is really going to show a little bit about how these teams approach maps, like what sort of play style they're going to adopt, if any. And I always like to see like where do they go? What do they feel like is important to them? How do they want to approach things? Currently, the way that this is being set up by Lebanon Valley is very interesting to me. Like you do have some range, but you also have that hard breach plus the Montaigne currently picked up. Now, if you do attack with that, your strategy seems pretty clear cut. You know, scout a little bit ahead with the Twitch,
Attackers need to
disable some
locate and
utility,
defuse as
and
many
then just
bombs as they
hard
can.
breach and bunker up with your Montaigne in front of you. See if you see what you get. You know, it's a very honestly very rushing sort of aggressive opening strat, but it can be very effective.
Yeah, we'll see if they go and opt for any last minute changes to their offensive lineup. One thing I want to go and highlight for UND Green is just the choice to go for this second floor
No worries, man.
immediately.
Hey, have a good one.
And I know that's not as prominent and not as needed now to go and barricade the entirety of banana windows, but just a little change in the mentality. And I like that you have slots playing down below. And the reason why you actually want to have a player, especially one with like a super
5
shorty,
seconds to
and have those opportunities downstairs, is to deny any sort of vertical
Attackers are moving
presence
out to locate a
from
bomb
the
and defuse it.
opposition. If they were to go downstairs with a Buck or a Zofia or an IQ and just try to start blasting up, that would go and essentially nullify any sort of presence that the bandit would have on tricking walls. And that's assuming they don't go for the window. There's a lot of speculation as LBC as well as UND. They have a lot of options on how they want to play. And I want to highlight that the last time these two teams played, they went all three maps. This was in week 6 of the season, as it was actually a 7-5, 5-7, 4-7 win for, I believe, UND Green.
Oh, it's good here to get a little bit of context. I'm just tuning in to get a look at this awesome game we've got between LVC and UND Green. What are we expecting here, Binks? If you could go ahead and remind me.
Well, I'm mainly looking for LVC to have a good aggression, especially utilizing the window repel. And what I'm typically expecting from this team is utilizing Olive Square, but most importantly, working in as you're reliable, as Plexio selects first kill on the spot. Spray out is it's going to go right back and forth reliable inside a supply closet. It's going to be in a very pivotal position. But Brick taking them down, this gives a lot of map control back into the hands of UND Green and really stalls out LBC as they need to go and figure out what exact positioning they have. Bennett playing on the Montaigne, pushing up right through Banana. You're going to have Renegade waiting and wishing. See what opportunities they have. Full spraying out. We're going to have a Thorn actually take out Plexios as things balance out at a 2v1. We're going to have the Montaigne having to jump through Banana. Careful for any frost mats. Not going to have to contend with anything. Peering out. This is going to be Brick with a very nice headshot. We can go and see the entirely tight angle, sniping right into the head. And I really liked the hold that we had there from UND Green, as it was very cold and calculated. And you had a lot of different layers. The moment you spring the trap, you're just going to get caught out. And very well played.
Yeah, LVC going for a classic lobby side overtake where they're trying to take that Monty and just kind of shove them into this little gap that you have because you can't play on Banana, right? But UND Green was able to just completely shut that down. They weren't able to get the Monty up far enough before UND Green was able to start
Attackers
the
need to
retake,
locate
make
and
sure that they
defuse
were
as
getting
many
those
bombs
trades
as they
in, and they
can.
were able to adapt as the round was going on to ensure that they didn't leave too big of a hole or allow Lebanon Valley to actually take control of Banana or Trump. And that made it nearly impossible for Lebanon Valley to get control over that round again. As we saw, even though they did at one point have a man advantage, Lebanon Valley was able to, or rather, they failed to actually perform that and translate that into a victory, simply for the fact that UND Green, right, they're playing on all sides, and at a certain point, once you
10
no longer
seconds
have
to
that hold,
insertion.
you're going to fall apart. Your push becomes nothing, and UND Green,
5
even though they
seconds to
lost the
go.
man advantage, was able to bring it back simply for the fact that they had pressure in too many places.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Moving towards our action phase, LVC has a lot to make up for, and I think the basement site is going to be exactly the spot to do that. One of the bans I want to go back and remind everyone of is the fact that we no longer have a Hibana on the board. That's going to mean that there's a lot more of a reliance on the Thermite, as well as Emporium on the Capitao with those secondary can openers that could be able to
A bomb
utilize
has been located.
in opening the hatch. No, you will have the Kaida Coal, which will result in some tricky business, but interested to see exactly the route selected as Emporiums made their way, assisted by the Senate, down to the bottom of blue. Droned out will be Renegade Mossberg, shotgun ready, spraying. Drone is still available. Great job using the Montang. And it's going to be an actual kill for Reliable. Oh, that is so unfortunate. Just spraying at the wrong angle, and the problem with the stairs is that elevation. You're going to have that altering head level. The Warden,
That
the
is deeply unfortunate.
it hurts. It really hurts. I'm interested to see how they can go and bounce back, as the Montang was a very pivotal part of their push in the first round.
I agree, but I think a bigger problem right now is the fact they've still got this Warden Mossberg playing on blue. They're just going to have to swing this. They're just going to have to go hard, and it's going to be really hard, especially considering the fact that Warden, he's got those special glasses. Flash is going to do absolutely nothing, and with 2 more kills going in the direction of LVC, now UND Green has given themselves a decisive advantage. Finally be able to remove the Warden from play, but they're still in a 2v3, very little map control, no walls open, and a minute and a half left to play. All UND Green needs to do now is sit back and let Lebanon Valley walk into their crossfires.
I talked about spraying that trap previously, and that's exactly it. Going to deploy some of these smoke pellets where available. The bolts don't even get caught by Jaeger ADSs, which make for a great ability to clear, but you use that utility once, you're not going to have it again. Reliable collecting onto coal. Plant being attempted inside a default by Reliable now. No C4 in the hands of UND Green to deny. Brick to go down, and Lebanon Valley clawed back. What a big second round Emporium. Great job holding the case.
I mean, when that nitro doesn't hit, suddenly you're looking at this like, oh, we're going to actually have to swing into this. Beautiful play by Capital. Lebanon Valley revived from the dead there at the very end, just simply for the fact that they found the 1 pick and they decided this is something we need to play off of. Once you remove the player from that position, you have just enough of a gap to get in, start that plant. And when your plant denial doesn't hit, it's just got to hit, right? There was absolutely no option for them other than swinging through smoke, through fire, anything they could to try and keep this plant from going down. And it didn't work. They weren't expecting the Capital to be playing such an aggressive angle. And because of that, suddenly they're falling apart. This retake has no grounds, nothing to push from behind it. And at the end of the day, that's a failing combination. It should have been UND Green's round. Let's be clear here. But unfortunately, just that simple little mistake of not being able to stop that plant, not being able to have enough control. Heck, you could even send a player around to get a little bit more active there, but none of those things actually happened. And at the end of the day, you got to make it happen in order for you to win the round. However, on the other side, Lebanon Valley did do a very good job of taking advantage of that. I will say, the choice to close this hatch, I think, is very interesting. It limits the amount of ability that you have to actually support your Warden in that position. I don't think there's too much need to support the Warden there. Warden really rolled through and did a lot of damage just playing in that one singular position last time with that Mossberg, right?
I think one
Not
little
too concerned.
lack of utility there that they used was the lack of Capitao. I know the Capitao's incendiary bolts were utilized down inside a server later, but I think that would have been a very prominent tool for dealing with the Warden early on, and I think it was just a little bit of a missed opportunity. I digress, though, as we have this round underway. We're going to have the Jaeger of Sloth. It's mainly the first point of contention, depending on where these players enter in from. Like Flexio is going to catch the Jaeger. Sloth taking a little bit of chip damage as they rotate their way through Teller's office as Plexio swings, expecting them. Great crosshair placement. Plexios will swing the man advantage in the way of Lebanon Valley, as this push seems a lot more methodical and really ensuring that they have the clear out that they need. But look at this, Brick playing inside of more of what I'd like to call a rat angle inside a cafeteria as well as admin. This entire area of the map is very important for the attackers, just for the sole importance of the hatch drop, or to initiate a lot of pressure through the hatches. I want to highlight that we don't have any dedicated hard breach. We have Davies as well as the Senate, as Renegade still holding down these stairs is going to be the absolute nightmare for Plexios. Down goes the line, still E1Ds in their possession. Cole is going to be able to find with the Nitro. Davies connecting onto Brick. This trade game back and forward, we knew we were going to see. We knew both these teams are coming at this game in a very close sort of mentality. Now, very important to note that with the alibi off the board, all of this second floor coverage is now in the form of LBC, and with a minute to go, they need to make their way downstairs.
Really strong positioning at this point from UND Green. It's going to be difficult for them to penetrate into the site, but the Warden here might be the weak link. He is a ways away from where the primary push is happening, obviously mostly through these hatches, but with no counter pressure from Lebanon Valley, they could have a bit of a wall in front of them just with this crossfire here, with Frosted playing in garage and Cole as well in the red hall, unless they're able to clear one or both of these players out of position. This drop, not likely to be successful. Nade goes out, doesn't catch anything, even though they know where Cole is playing that Cade. He's going to move back as another nade is pulled. It's not going to find anything here. This crossfire is going to remain intact. And dropping here suddenly looks just as dangerous as it did before, with Lebanon Valley not making any ground at all. They need to find something, anything, push through garage, push down blue, but none of it's going to happen. There's the first drop. Absolutely nothing. Massacre. Shots coming out from UND Green, but ultimately it evens out, but they're not aware that the last player's in garage. Frosted going to finally clean it up. And there it is. One more round for UND Green. Perhaps the round they should have had, but a very different round from the one prior.
I think what I want to highlight is that's why you need to have a safety player all the way in garage, because when you set up a crossfire, and I think something that's often lost is, oh, we're both holding the same angle. That's a crossfire. The proper crossfire is when you guys are both on completely different angles, holding the exact same thing. That is the form of the drop. So that'd be holding all the way down vault hallway. And then as soon as you have that player inside of garage, you just have two different angles, completely different players able to hold the same angle, and that allows for such a clean line of sight. And I think UND did a great job of utilizing that, understanding that LBC has that lethality even when they're just all dropping into the same hatch, but there is going to most likely be a kill or two that results and goes their way. Great way to play safety, and I think that really speaks to the depth that this roster can bring.
Looking at the roster that Lebanon Valley is choosing to bring here, very similar to what we saw last time. Are they going to have the pressure that they need to actually punch through the UND top banana defense? It's going to be the question of this round. If they can solidify Monty's position in banana and get someone behind them, this UND defense could fall apart, especially with these players playing down below. There's not going to be a lot of opportunity for them to push out through the site. They could, however, still deny this push very strongly from below. Not entirely certain that with this below hold, the actual play through lobby is going to be entirely effective, right? There's a really good chance we see a lot of counter pressure coming in behind Lebanon Valley that prevents them from being able to effectively make their way up banana. That's going to be a big question here. Are they going to fall to the players playing in Tellers, or is this going to be a round where Lebanon Valley suddenly asserts their dominance and shows, yeah, we know how to do this push?
I think it's very much going to be the scenario, the latter, where I feel that LBC is going to almost repeat their exact time and try to correct the mistakes that were made. But I think in this battle of adaptation, that might go the way of UND just because of the prominence you have in the defensive end.
Early on, not a lot of firefights going back and forth yet.
Necessarily answer your question, but I feel like LBC is very unpredictable in that same sense.
A bomb has been located.
Yeah, and I think a swift, aggressive take up the banana stairs could be exactly what they're looking for. If they're able to get, like, literally just a tiny modicum of control there, that's when that hold starts to fall apart. but it doesn't look like that's really what they're going to be doing here. Right now, they're just going around fishing for picks here. I think that's a good play, right? There isn't really a hole. They proved that last time. There's not a hole in the defense of UND Green to exploit on that lobby side of the map. Because of that, LVC, Lebanon Valley, they're looking for something here. Quick firefight comes out, nothing found yet, but a complete rotate by the Monty, I think, signifies a complete switch of the push. And with all the players on UND Green, not all of them, but many of them playing below still or over near Banana, this could be hard. Firefight and stock, it's going to go in the way of UND, taking the first advantage of the round and completely shutting down that push. Lebanon Valley now looks like they're going to struggle trying to find a footing inside the map anywhere, but that could be it. Pick on a Cole. Starting us off in the direction of Lebanon. Another one, but even back out promptly.
Now sitting at a 3v3, 38 seconds to go. LVC needs to start making a much more aggressive entrance into the site. Flexios and Emporium will do just that, leaving Sloth as the lonesome defender on the castle. Stuck inside a square, spraying towards the site. They know the plant is near inevitable at this point with 20 seconds to go. They can fight, try to go and delay and ensure there's no plant. Going down, do they have the information? They're looking right at it. We also the Montang shield covering for it. Spraying towards big window plant will be successful. Spraying towards the Montang. Then it's going to be lit up around 25 HP remaining. Okay, I have to try to isolate as many 1v1s as possible, but with 3 players alive and good communication, this should not be possible. This is LVC's round to lose. Lexios at a tiny sliver of HP has information provided by the Montang as they push their way right back in towards Banana. Looking for the Twitch's head. Is able to see it, but not in time as Plexios secures the kill and LVC will even things out 2-2.
Yeah, talking about that round, I think that was a really great adjustment by LVC. They just were poking and prodding at that front side, found absolutely nothing. And while when they went around, they lost the initial pick, they were able to swing it back around. I want to talk a little bit about that 1v1 as well, because you have got to have the confidence. And genuinely, I think that 1v1 could have gone a completely different direction. Sloth playing that castle, right? He's got the UMP. It's a hard gun to use, but he shoots that player off those windows. Suddenly, we're looking at a round that is doable, especially if Twitch plays that the same way, right? Those peaks, those aggressive peaks, those could have been taken advantage of. We could have seen a Castle Monty 1v1, which is very different than when we're looking at a 1v3 where you've already got Finka on the rappel, right? There's absolutely no way. The only way to kill that player is to jump out. If he gets that pick early on, maybe it's a doable round. As soon as he misses that pick, unfortunately, or fortunately, if you're Lebanon, round goes their way. I mean, Lebanon did play that very well. They set that up. They were able to isolate the player of the castle on top square. And once they've done that, they know they can just put the plant down. And maybe a little bit too aggressive with the way that they played that. But at the end of the day, they did it. They got the job done. Inca didn't die. Twitch didn't die. They got the plant down. Right? Beautifully done once you take a good look at that last minute of the round or so.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
As far as the initial approaches here from LVC, they did a great job previously of getting early access towards the building, but I think we might see a little bit of change in mentality for them as they are going to largely focus towards, I want to emphasize, like, clearing and securing coverage in the building. I think that's something that has been rather lacking from UND to go and challenge that, but rightfully so. I find that I'm more in like a moral battle with myself of what the best option is for this team and exactly the interaction between them, because there's clearly a lot of depth, and the one thing I've really been noticing is the amount of prep towards the other side and vice versa, where UND Green always seems to have a good idea of what Lebanon Valley could be attempting to do, but once again, it could also play into LVC's control.
Opening pick going in the direction of Lebanon Valley, and with this Sophia playing on the rappel on these north side windows, that's a good position to be playing in, especially when you've got that middle floor site. Now, they need to clear these players out. They are still at 1.5 minutes. At some point, they're going to have to start getting aggressive. They're going to have to start cleaning up some more of these players. But as long as they play for trades here, they will be, I mean, chilling like a villain, right? They're going to be on top of this. And LVC, I think this is already their round to lose. They already know where most of these players are. Brick even has already been spotted out. We saw Finka shooting at him through the wall. They still know where he is. You watch these 3 players coming towards him. He's able to get 1, but that's going to be it. Brick finally down. Puts themselves into 3v2 with the nice support from a Nitro below. Still definitely a decisive advantage for Lebanon Valley going into the last minute of this round.
Cole's going to be one of the main players in this. Good on the Wamai for having the ability to stay alive so long and around us. That's going to be a lot of util that's going to be captured, especially from the Sophia Davies as well as the nades of Emporium. We'll see if it comes down to that. However, 50 seconds to go. Pressure being promoted towards the reinforced hatches as well as through double door. I'm anxious to see if LBC opts to go for another vertical drop if they leave a player up here to hold a Case from up above. Case is in the pocket of the Senate, who's previously been playing on the Montank, switching over to the Bucks, spraying up above. It's going to be the Wamai to fall. Down goes Cole as a result of Davies' quick execution with a breaching charge up above. All left up to Renegade. Going to have to try to deny this plant best they can. Their hatch is okay. Plant is successful. And they see it. They're going to be able to secure 1 kill. Send it down with the plant, looking for 2. Can't find it as 2 guns are staring right at him as Davies, with a quick reaction time, knowing they have to cover the plant best they can, is going to be able to secure that round for LVC. What a great job accumulating all that information.
Excellently done. Way to think about what you need to do there. You know that mute's pushing, so you're going to have to get aggressive and make sure that he's not allowed to do that, right? He kills the planter. Suddenly, your round is over. So as soon as they realize that the mute is pushing, hey, he's getting aggressive. We have to stop this, which, let's be clear, very excellent choice by the mute. That's what he needs to do. He needs to try and stop that plant. Unfortunately, didn't have the C4 from before. That's a little bit of util wasted. And we did see that, did successfully get a pick. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be enough to actually stop you from planting, right? You're still going to end up in a 3v1 there at the end. Like I said, definitely Lebanon Valley's round to lose. And once they got that pick, putting it back into a 1v3, it's just going to be... Plant is going to go down in that corner. It would have definitely been interesting to see if they had the Nitro, but alas, that wasn't the case. Lebanon Valley, looking at the lineup that they're bringing here, doesn't look like the same server take that they made the first time, rather the open take that they made the second time.
I love the last round and a half because you've conditioned your opponent for 5 of these 6 rounds, and you now have an opportunity to go and change things up. And there's no harm in changing it, because yes, it might result in a round loss. You've already secured at least an even split, and if you've gone and adapted and understand how your opponent is going to be defending these final key operator switches, the Senate taking that Thatcher, trying to disable as much utility as possible, I think that's very, very important for the basement. And I think that's really just screams just a corner plant and trying to get it down with the smokes, the yings. There's just so much utility they're able to dump the way of the site.
Break going to be on this first engagement. Doesn't quite know where they are. Realizes now that they're going to be above and decides to just skedaddle just a little bit. Still wants to apply pressure, but already having control over this much of the map.
This is
This
scary.
could be... This looks a little bit like a lobby drop. I'm not going to lie. I don't think they'll actually go through with it. They've got enough knowledge on the player, especially with reliable playing in the lone position. Oh, that's open? That's soft?
I'm really interested to see what happens here. I don't see...
I think if they were going to do it, they already would have done it.
They need a can opener other way, because there's no soft... Oh, they got the DMR. I stand corrected. They have a DMR on the side of Twitch, so you would be able to open the hatch. It's very interesting that this extension from UND creating...
There's a lot of tension.
I know it's either going to pay dividends in the ability to just cut down the members of LVC in half, or if they're spotted out, it could be completely different. 1:25 to go now. LVC seemingly stalled out, and I'm getting the emphasis that we might see a drop. We're gonna have it. LVC prepping, tempting us, essentially playing around with us at this point.
I think UND might be reading into it. They're looking at this and going, absolutely nothing's going on. That they're preparing for something, so we can just take it out, right? UND
Okay,
Green, though, going to
Plexios.
suffer the first loss by Plexios. Quick trade back from Frosted, the critical garage player from before. Another trade as well, but the plant's going down in CCTV. Bricks behind, though. He might be able to stop this. He doesn't know where he is. Oh, he's going to stop it. That's huge. And suddenly we're back in a 2v2. Critical player was originally going to be taking the first engagement, didn't find it. Now is stayed alive to stop the defuse, and suddenly LVC finding themselves in a tough position. They do have the crossfire across red here, so it's going to be hard for UND Green to actually take any sort of an advantage, but they don't need to. They don't need to get aggressive. Lebanon Valley is the one that's going to be looking for these picks, and they have no clue about this player Sloth on the hatch, and suddenly it's up to Emporium. He knows there's the one on the hatch, and he knows where the other player is too, but he's got to find the picks. Nearly no opportunity for him as the players there, but he can't pick up the diffuser. He's going to make it into the other side as well, and he's going to be able to start planting, but only 1 second left.
No,
That's not going to be it. Brick's going to
that's-
be able to stop a second diffuse on the round. Beautiful round from Brick, hitting that last come around the flank, right? Honestly, well done. Good
That's
read
Brooks'
by him.
round. That is entirely Brick's round. Just the ability to understand the timing of it all. I want to replay and I want to be able to have the chance to go back and look, because I believe that there was down to 0.1 second. That bar was empty when I was looking at it as it was getting denied. Very scary situation for LBC to just have to lose that round. And it was a very nice change of pace from what we saw previously. So we'll see how it develops. But I like that as a first half from LBC, and I think it being a 3-3 split speaks absolute volumes to the closeness between these two teams. As previously, and my prediction is that this one could easily go all the way, just off the sole factor that it came down to a 7-5, 7-5, 7-4 in the last week of regular season, and there hasn't been much change since then. I know it's a very basic.
Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. That's all you. That's the end of my point. I'm just acknowledging how base it is to say what.
Yeah, you're good.
5 seconds to insertion.
Starting us off in basement, going to be Lebanon Valley switch over the
Attackers are
defensive
moving
side
out
and
to locate a bomb
slightly
and defuse it.
different hold. They are going to be bringing a Mira, something that we actually didn't see UND Green take advantage of, despite the fact that, she's on the board, right? It feels so trivial to be like, okay, Mira on basement, on bank, we just bring her, right? That feels so default, but wasn't done by UND Green. Maybe could have saved them, I think, 1 round. But at that point, you're looking at a 4-2 split. I would say this split already gives an advantage to Lebanon Valley, simply for the fact that they took an even half on their attack. They looked solid, very adaptable while doing it, and they win a lot of their firefights as well. Like, we can't understate how important that is at the end of the day. The first-person shooter, right? But we're going to have to see how this plays out.
Brick's going to be the first initial contact on this creep being droned in. I love the LVC mentality of the extension. We saw a similar thing from UND Green, but the fact of the matter is how much time it delays and just the sneakiness of Emporium, who still has that rotate down through the elevator shaft in first floor. It adds a lot of versatility. It adds a lot of depth. And as the players now start to move their way down towards admin, they have a few different options on how they do it. LBC still can continue to turtle strat all the way back down. I love this, acknowledging that your opponents will be able to take a certain amount and securing any sort of frag potential. And the amount of doubt that has now been planted in the mind of UND Green as they push up every single second of this round matters, and a lot of it is going to be wasted.
UND Green is stalling.
Bomb located by attackers.
If we could have a look at them, it just doesn't seem like they have anything. They're gathering information, but they don't have anything to play off of. There is a gap here in red, but they're not going to take advantage of it. A little bit of a gap maybe in server as well, but we saw earlier there are 2 Goyos on that. We're not going to be able to play through there, especially with this little time in the round. But they're looking for something, right? They want to hopefully give themselves a bit of an advantage going into this execute, right?
You'd assume so. Sloth is going to be prepping for a potential hatch drop. Sitting inside open. has a few different options. I think we could see a full bank commit almost spontaneously. What long angle is going to be held? Is the communication from LVC communicating exactly what they need to? So many questions to be answered as Frosted will make an explosive first impression onto
15 seconds
Plexios.
to go.
That's a top frag going down from LVC.
10 seconds to go.
Lots of denial opportunities. You have two C4s, one in the hand of the Mira, one in the
5
hand
seconds
of the
remaining.
Kaid. Kaid will fall. Plant finally being attempted by Renegade right along the corner. Can they get there? Davies will fall. That's a push from Garage. Great job from Cole. Completely unexpected. Plant will be successful. Cole sitting inside a Garage, having a lot of different options. Air jab set up. This entire push is now gone completely awry as UND Green sprung the trap and LVC was caught lacking. Reliable. One option here to push up in through the air jab. Gets stumbled. Not yet fall, but there's the cross angle you're looking for. Cole inside a Garage with a huge 3K will get UND the 4-3 advantage.
I mean, I am going to level. You can't let them run through CC like that. We saw a lot of adaptability from from LVC thus far. I don't think that was one of their finer moments. It looked like they had already considered themselves having won the round. They're at a 3v3, nearly a 3v3
Defenders,
when there
protect
were
your
2
bombs from
seconds
being
left on the
defused by
timer. They knew
attackers.
Plant wasn't going down. But the players on UND Green just decided to get aggressive, and that's exactly what they needed to do. They knew that they needed to give themselves an advantage. They needed to find their firefights and take them. And that's what they did. And Lebanon Valley just didn't look prepared to actually be pushed on like that. They didn't look prepared for an aggressive play. And ultimately, it just felt like a stack of cards. LVC not quite able to hold those crossfires, and especially with that Garage play, that was unexpected.
10 seconds to insertion.
I mean, it just looked phenomenal by
seconds to
UND Green, just for the simple fact that they're pushing in, they're taking, they're getting aggressive. They know exactly what they need to do in a situation where time is dwindling and they have a disadvantage on man count. They just said, hey, we're just going to take this round and we're just going to do it, right? There's nothing to lose. We have to take in. We're going to go and push in through Garage. We're going to find these picks, give ourselves the advantage. And it worked out beautifully.
One of the big things as we look towards round 8, and your word of the match is probably going to be extension. How do you justify the right amount of extension to ensure that the site isn't taken, but you still have good opportunity? Frosted making their way through this front door is going to be quite pivotal, as it allows for multiple castle barricades to be melted as if they were even there to start. I think the primary element that you want to be looking out for if you are on the side of LVC, if you're supporting LVC, you need to have a really good idea of where this push is coming from and how they can properly prevent it. You're going to be repelling right on in without droning. That's what's going to happen. Plexios collecting a frag onto Renegade. Case now dropped inside of second floor executive hallway. They have double window to contend with. They have half a barricade to protect their positioning, but their location most definitely has been noted. Popping the nade, the Frost is going to have to rotate. Unfortunate timing there. Still going to go and prep it. Waiting for it. Nade out. Plexios having to drop back. Good thing they're in the prone position, taking a little bit less damage from it. Brick, taking it reliable. Now down below, they still have Case up above, and the Yokai drone watching. Frank, Frost makes their way in. Now with minute 22, this is a little bit more time than LVC was probably anticipating to have to deal with, especially from the vertical control where every element of archives can be breached from above. But Emporium doing a great job. Flexio spring the trap and making their way back upstairs. That results in a 2K for them. They are forced to rotate right back towards their site, but they can still rotate back. They still have a good opportunity. Spotted on the default will be Brick. Looking towards open. Triple kill for Plexios. This is going to be an overextension. All left up to Frosted on this second floor. Has the opportunity, has the nade. Looking to drop right down. Davies ready, sees the drop, calls out for the team. All guns and aim towards him. Plexios with the 4K. Down goes Frosted. Great positioning by the Frost.
I want to point out the aggression by the defense of LVC, and I think that's exactly what they needed in the last round. They became complacent with their position, and at a certain point, what they did is they just let all the cards fall into the hands of UND Green. They don't know exactly where their players are. They don't know exactly what's going on, but they're not poking or prodding to try and gather information or anything along those lines. UND Green was able to just set up and make a perfect execute, and they had absolutely no clue. Lebanon Valley this time was able to take a page and be like, okay, let's not do that again. Let's get aggressive. Let's
Attackers need to
do
locate
an
and defuse
excellent
as many
job
bombs as they
of
can.
actually getting the information, understanding where they are, right? We saw beautiful crossfire coming out from the player and printer, the warden, and Plexios on the main stairs. I mean, beautifully done. The main stairs player knows that someone's pushing up that hall. The player in copy swings it, and you're gonna get the kill. One of your two players is gonna clean that up. One thing I will say, though, despite all of this praise that I have for LVC, Lebanon Valley, that is, UND Green, you gotta drone the top floor. I mean, it seemed like they
10
didn't have
seconds left
any
before
clue that
insertion.
anyone could possibly be playing up there. Even though there was
5
setup up
seconds.
there, there were castle barricades. You have to know that someone's playing up there. It seemed to me like
Attackers are
even in the
moving to
prep
defuse the
phase, they
bomb.
didn't send a single drone up there. They had no clue anything could possibly be going on up there. Lose your ace immediately. Drop the case on the floor immediately. And while you do end up getting the trade back, Lebanon Valley did a very good job of falling off, giving up the control, and just saying, okay, you guys have earned this, but we're going to fall back. We're going to get our information, and we'll live to fight another day. And fight they did.
We'll see if they repeat their mistakes. And the third mindset that last one was probably one of the most convincing wins we've seen, but that came off a 4K out of LVC. I'm quite curious if Plexios can continue that. From up above, Plexios will, playing on the dock, gets a kill and is able to rotate all the way back. Down goes your Maverick, the hard breach, or one of the hard breaches, still the first to fall. Emporium, the next to go. Another high fragging member of LVC, as it's really been Plexios and Emporium, the fragging duo of this matchup so far, really assisting each other. We're going to have to continue to adapt as a result. A minute 45, and I like that the puzzle pieces are slowly starting to fit into place. Sloth's ability to go and maneuver right through square, and I like the use of the zeros. It's good for providing information, but you need to get it into positions you don't yet know. Whether or not that happens, go ahead. Yes.
You're good. I'd like to highlight the way that Plexios has been enabled, right? He's not just making blind swings. He's not just getting aggressive off of nothing. He's there to adapt and to play off of what his teammates give him, right? Teammate says, hey, there's a player jumping in alone. He knows he's got that. He makes the swing because he has the information, right? He's not just going willy-nilly, taking things. And as well with the play on the main stairs, he knows he has support there, right? Plexios, to me, demonstrating not just the fact that he's mechanically gifted, but as well the fact that he's smart and able to play with the rest of his team effectively.
With 45 to go, UND is once again having the pressure put on them. You have the Sledge of Frost up above that could go and wreak absolute havoc with the soft breach. That's exactly what they plan on doing. With 4 to 4. I want to acknowledge Ram is yet to be deployed upstairs. They're more concerned with trying to clear out this Legion, and finally do as Bennett would fall reliable. Trying to spray towards. Davies taking a critical amount of damage from the drop from the hatch. Davies spraying down to confirm 2 kills. Looking back towards square, trying to find a third. Nope, they're not going to find it. Cole's back. But there's Reliable and Plexios. Another fragging duo. Secure another round for LVC as they go up 5 to 4.
I'd like to put an emphasis on a fact in that round that it just looked so much like the first defending round for Lebanon Valley, where UND Green just kind of took their time, set up, put themselves in all sorts of different positions, and then collapsed onto the site. But this time, a little bit different. Lebanon Valley was able to actually play off the utility they had put in place early in the round, right? We saw Fenrir, we saw Legion, and that made sure that despite the fact that they could be making an aggressive execute as we saw, right, it was down to the last 20 seconds, suddenly you know where everyone is. You're going to be finding these clean, easy kills because you're Lebanon Valley. You know, you have Flexios, who, might I add, is now 15-6. Absolutely monstrous scoreline. And it's simple at that. But I do want to say as well that it could have not gone that way. UND Green, with just a little bit more information on the site, a little bit more direction on that execute, suddenly we're talking about a very, very different round, much more similar to the first basement defense that we saw from Lebanon Valley. I'd like to know whether or not Lebanon Valley has enough coherence to recognize that they are lacking in intel in specific situations.
Can we just check server right now? Or are those walls left soft currently? No, it's gonna take.
I believe they are, and they did that last time too. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. This conflicts with my old siege mind. Oh,
Well,
never mind.
no,
We have the mirror. We have the mirror.
it's-
I take that back.
Yeah, we have the Mira, but I think as well that did contribute to the fast execute style that UND Green was able to pull off last time they did this, right? They have the Mira, so they're going to be able to play through it. They're going to be able to get aggressive off of that, but it didn't work last time. They didn't play it well enough. They didn't, you know, hit their anti-plant denial, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Is it going to work differently this time? Are they going to be expecting an aggressive play, right? Are they going to make the adaptation? Lebanon Valley is a team that we've seen make good adaptations, even mid-round, able to make an audible call and just say, hey, let's go around to the other side. Are they going to do that here? Are they going to be able to do that between rounds?
Our main lobby. Rank for it. Oh, that's such a huge kill from Flexios before getting refrag, but the gridlock down off the board is going to free up a lot of congestion along the site. Reliable. Still sitting inside a copy. Has a few different options when to spring the trap as late as possible, as the drone should not necessarily come around to this area, but it will. Spot it out. Reliable. Spring around. Here comes your gunfight. Reliable to win that one out. Refrag by Sloth. And that's going to be controlled, not going the way of UND Green on the second floor. With a minute 15, that's exactly what you want from LVC. They got their trades and they got out. You got a Twitch drone reaping absolute havoc downstairs, as you're also going to have a whole bunch of zero cameras. Emporium to take out Cole. This aggression, this lack of security that UND has, and that's the problem with you losing your gridlock early on. You're not going to have the claymores. You're not going to have any sort of safety besides a drone, and that clearly was not there. And your castle of Emporium's all the way up on the third floor, 40 seconds to go, and this is a very scary situation for you, Green.
I was going to say you're not going to be clearing out that castle, but there it is. Renegade was able to get up, get around, and while that did waste a lot of time, we know that UND Green, no issue. They have no complaints, no qualms with playing unlimited time, and an aggressive entry from Renegade doesn't find the pick, and the second swing as well, going to shut that down. Where is Sloth? Their play this round was clinical up until that point, making such an aggressive play unnecessary, and forcing your final player, the Zero, to drop into a crossfire. Just a difficult situation for UND Green that I don't think was handled quite correctly. Just a little bit more patience, which is kind of funny talking about UND Green, saying, hey, be a little bit more patient there.
Yeah,
Round goes to Lebanon Valley.
It's crazy to think about, and that's, I believe, the only time we've had 2 consecutive rounds of 1 or more than a... Yeah, I believe that's the first consecutive round win that we have, besides possibly the very start of the match. LVC having match point, I want to highlight this is their map pick, so this is expected, but UND Green are not out of it just yet. These teams are one that we know can just continue to go the extra mile and pull out as deep a strats as they need. And this is the finals. You're going to pull out everything you have. This is a best of 5, let me remind you. We're going to in here for the long haul. And I'm interested to see exactly how this team tries to adapt. And I like that the Senate is going to be taking the pulses. That's going to be a very necessary information game to know what UND Green have in store and how exactly they can maneuver around their opponent.
Hang on, is the Senate Palpatine?
I don't know.
I
I
swear
am
I remember a player named Palpatine. Um,
No,
maybe I'm
it's
imagining
around
things. I
very
mean,
long.
it is Palpatine anyway, right?
Yeah,
Like,
either way it is. Palpatine is the
yeah.
Sith.
Yeah, no. But in any case,
Moving out
back
to
up
locate a bomb
and
and defuse it.
in this position where they're gonna have an aggressive extension on this top floor, like you
Deploying
said.
mobile cover.
Word of the day, probably extension. And look at how aggressive this extension is. They're not playing on the top floor, but they are playing on the top floor. This extension strong upstairs, and that's going to allow them to take their time and, more importantly, take UND Green's time, which they have not been giving themselves enough of. And there it is. Play off the intel.
Wow!
Green pick by Plexios. Yes, he
I
does
thought
get
that
traded out,
that
but
was a
that's going to be
crazy
2
jump.
nades.
That's tough to lose Plexios of all your players, and way the top frag to go. I do think that is a good trade. I'm interested to see because it is going
Yeah,
to be.
I think in terms of utility, it is a good trade. Yeah.
If Ross gets all of it out, you don't want to go and sacrifice your Romai. You don't want to sacrifice your Echo or Pulse. Castle will be the only other one in the form of Emporium, but not in that sort of position. And finally, just an absolute utility dump from UND Green as they realize, oh, we're at the 2-minute mark. Procrastination. While we may be students, can't really apply that to Rainbow Six Siege. We want to still make at least a little bit of a dent inside of this offense before rushing in. Renegade on the ace is going to be very important and interesting to see how they go and try to use the opportunity. They see the player unable to find it going to prone. Drop shotting is no longer a thing. I remember that one all the way from back in the day, and both players are going to be able to escape with their life reliable, staring in towards the square, trying to find one. Going to have 2 different rifles to contend with, but there's the amplified scope and the DMR of Brick, resulting in a great victory. The Senate. Now the next player to have to contend with the Lion, waiting for them to pop down the stairs, able to find them. That's a second kill for Brick. Great job as LBC's entire defense sort of folds away like paper. Renegade, next player to go down, is able to capture the head as Emporium. Renegade revived. 2v3. Emporium with a huge shot onto Brick. Cole now having to rotate in. The player of Renegade is up above, dropping into open. This is going to be a 2-fronted assault from the south. Whether or not they have the information on Davies, and if they can stay alive long enough to make good use of that yokai drone, good that it's an ace, you have a good, clear way to get into sight. Whether or not Emporium is ready.
You mentioned losing Plexios early, maybe painful, but apparently Emporium is here to, I mean, clean it right back up. He's going to be going off this round, and UND off of a little bit of over-aggression, not putting themselves in positions to trade. Now suddenly they're looking at a 2v2 out of a 2v4 advantage for them. Davies as well able to play off site. They have no idea he's here, and he's got the Echo drones. I mean, we know that UND likes taking their time, and with another player gone, they're going to be probably taking even more. Never mind, it's going to be Emporium. Cleaning that up, very clean 4K. Going to give them the map. LVC going up 1-0 against University of North Dakota Green.
An absolutely great play from LVC, and I really like their ability to ramp up. I think that was a very key thing that we saw at the early parts of the match, where they seemed to get lost in the sauce a couple of times and not be able to have a clear narrative of their entire round. By the end of it, they had a lot of extra precautions set up, and I think it really speaks to their depth that they have on the map of Bank. Yeah, as my closing remarks for LVC just in that victory was just the individual's ability to step up while being assisted by their team. I think that's going to be a really big thing going forward. And UND Green, as we go spiraling towards their own map pick of, I believe, Clubhouse, Clubhouse should be the next one. I'm a little bit foggy, so we will be going to Clubhouse. It should be a good change in momentum, and UND should have more of an advantage on a map like Clubhouse, but that's early speculation for me.
I mean, yeah, I tend to agree. Bank is a absolutely massive map. I mean, just simply speaking, just a little bit on this, right? It's a big map. It's really easy to get lost in the sauce, get lost in just how big it is. Clubhouse being a smaller map, that's going to play very well into the way that UND, they like to sit out, they like to bait a little bit, which is fine. That's totally a thing. Baiting is, in certain situations acceptable. And especially on a map like Clubhouse, it's tiny. You know where the players are going to be playing at. I think that's going to play into UND's play style. But that's going to be after the break. Don't go anywhere because we'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone, to your NECC Rainbow Six Siege Champions Cyan division. And speaking of champions, this is our championship best of 5 LVC going against UND Green. And we just had the first match or first map go the way of LVC over on Bank. It was a very, I'm not going to call it a dominant performance because it was very back and forth, and it seemed like more of a teeter-totter sort of mentality.
Yeah, once LVC took the even half on their attacking half, though, they were able to take it away with their with their defending adaptations and their depth of play in Bank. But now we're going to be moving over to Clubhouse. I mentioned it a little bit before the break. They're looking like a team that likes to sit out a little bit longer, make sure they give themselves an advantage, and then get in. And that's exactly what I'm expecting from UND here. I think just given the fact that Clubhouse is a smaller map, it's going to benefit them a lot more than playing on Bank, one of the biggest maps in the game.
Going into our bans, we might start to see a couple more targeted bans. I know that we saw LVC on their attacking end take the Montang a considerable amount. So we'll see if UND considers that a big enough threat to ban it out. But LVC having the first ban really is going to be able to set the tone as they'll ban out the Montang. Interesting. not expecting that one.
That was LVC that banned. Didn't they play the Monty?
Yes, they were the ones playing the Montang.
I'm
Interesting.
just going to assume that there's some VOD review that I have not done that Lebanon is privy to. I think the doe could be banned a little bit more standard and not surprising at all. UND Green knows this is a small map. If we're getting our roamers chopped off like early on, it's gonna be a big struggle. And it's coming in as a first defensive ban. It's Cade, not a big surprise there.
Yeah, I know you still have Thatcher on the board. You're going to have those pocket EMPs, but you don't want to have to deal with the Electric Claws and just their elusiveness to destroying them. So I don't have any sort of surprise there. I'm interested to see if we're going to have a fuse now taken, since the Bandit and the Mute are the only things to contend with. I've come to be a big fan of fuse on the second floor, and the Zombie for the second consecutive time will be banned out. All because of the depth that she's able to bring to each and every single site that she's present on, just adding that extra different layer. The same way when Mira was the go-to ban. And it's been good because I think Mirrors really had the chance to slip right back into the narrative and right back into play as we're seeing Davies taking them.
Mira on Gym Bedroom, I mean, it's about as default as it gets, right? You're gonna put one of them on the bathroom wall, looking towards that breach, right? Like you mentioned, providing a bit of another
Attackers
layer
need
of
to locate
defense,
and defuse
especially
as
in
many
that
bombs as
core
they can.
position on the site, right in the middle, like an egg sitting in a nest, right? It's going to be a lot safer there. And being able to play the Mira in that position as well, going to make that a lot more powerful. I do like the Frost pick as well. I mean, personal favorite, let's just be real, right? Despite the change, I think she's a completely valid pick, especially here because you get those long angles that you can see all the way across this south edge of the map, all the way from Cash Room all the way to Gym. And so you have your Frost mats on there. You could shoot them from anywhere. They're not going to get out of the Frost mat.
10 seconds left.
Yeah, I think that the big thing about a Frost is placing any
5
one of
seconds
those
remaining.
welcome mats in areas you don't have the option to look down. You almost never clear a room with enough ability. Plexios placing one at the top of red stairs, I can understand it as it acts as like more of a proximity that you have to shoot and notifies the defenders, but I wouldn't call that like putting one inside of office, for example, where you're not going to necessarily be able to look down to shoot it out. That's a perfect one. Going into um, bathroom, you can never look down. You have to keep your gun up and ready. So it's that split second sort of reaction that we're looking for. But one thing I really want to highlight from LVC is you have an extension around the eastern side of the map with Cash and
Bomb has
a
been
little bit down
located.
towards the first floor in that regard, but nothing more than that. This feels very different, like a different type of LVC that we did not get to see on Bank.
Brick, always the aggressive player, already in the middle of bar on Buck. I'm not expecting these mirrors to last very long, especially with the switch going through, already basically preparing that mirror to just, or rather the jacuzzi wall to just be completely removed. And with Twitch going in as well, I guarantee this mirror doesn't last very long. Give it a couple seconds here. He missed. Never mind. I mean, it's still up. That's kind of a
Wow,
brutal place to
that's
miss,
a
but
blunder.
yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
believe
I'm
in
gonna have
chess we notate that with a question mark, but he is still doing a lot of work with the twist drones. Let's be real here. All of the mute jammers now off the board. Twist drone still exists. It's a second shot here, and its body is in the way. Oh. He is body
oh,
blocking it. This is an intense fight because I mean, just getting this mirror could decide the round, but instead it's gonna be Plexios on the aggressive play, dropped down into billiards and finds two, escapes with his life. Wow, absolutely brutal that goes unpunished. Although I think he will be caught out momentarily. Playing back in downstairs still. Not exactly
back to
the
the
best
interesting
play.
matchup here. Never mind.
Yeah.
Frost is going to be downed outside by Reliable, who's going
Uh,
to have the chance to go and swing back to it. And we'll see if Cole, now
oh.
Warren, getting off of their drone Frosted, dropping it down to the front porch, is going to be available for a potential revive. But Renegade's going to have to rotate right in front of them. And it does not look like Cole managed to get that mirror. And well, that will be the first confrontation that will come to an end. We'll see if any others, as all 5 players of LVC are still up and ready. This has not been the start that UND Green was hoping for in this matchup, and it's going to cause for a lot of commotion. It's 26 seconds to go. Making their way up, Frosted is available, and finally refragged. Plexios goes down, relegated to the bench for the remaining 15 seconds of this round. Spraying, the mirror was open, but that Mossberg shotgun still as potent as ever. Cole now coming in person. No body blocking that one. As 3v1, Cole has to find 3 more. Not too many options. In through the smoke, able to find 1 more. Pistol out. Magnum spraying for the second, not able to find it, and the defenders of Lebanon Valley will take the first round in a very dominant fashion, all off the drop of Plexios into bar.
Yeah, I mean that's just the key play. Lexios into bar finds 2. What is UND watching that they allow that to happen, right? And this is the one catch up that I think did concern me a little bit with the way that UND plays and being on Clubhouse. Clubhouse is so linear that you just have to get aggressive. You don't have another option. And UND spends a lot of time sitting around on their drones, getting information, trying to give themselves an advantage. Where Lebanon Valley if they catch that out, if they're able to say, "Oh, there's 2 people on drones right here," they're just gonna take advantage of it. You know, Plexios is gonna
Attackers
do
need
it.
to locate
Imperium
and
as
defuse
well,
as many
likely
bombs as
going
they
to do, or
can.
Emporium, sorry, likely as well, yeah, gonna be able to do that. And then on top of that, just to have the solid players in the backup, right? You had obviously the Senate in bathroom able to lock that down, even well in past the point that the Senate should have been able to stay there. I mean, he just stayed there, and at some point you got to be able to expect that. UND Green, not enough information for the amount of time that they spent on drones. Lost 2 bodies for it. They're gonna have to find a slightly different balance here if they want to be able to counter the aggression from
10
Lebanon
seconds to
Valley.
go.
I'm interested. I'm glad that we see
5 seconds
have the opportunity to go and see Plexios on the Souls. Is that's going to be a very important operator, and especially in hunting down the drone. We saw the Twitch drone of Cole previously, so I think that's going to be a great counter for it. But Cole went nearly undetected, and I think that the 2 kills they're able to collect on Twitch, could they have been better utilized if the gun was up holding an angle? Potentially, but there's a lot of mistakes that should not have happened there from UND Green, and I think that they will have more than ample opportunity to go and correct them, as switching maps can always be a tricky, different situation. Emporium roaming on the Mira down inside of first floor. This is one that I haven't seen
And,
before.
and I
I think,
believe spotted out as well. They know where they are. It's going to be a
yeah,
little bit more difficult for Brick to find this pick, but
yeah.
ultimately it's going to be picked up easy enough.
Attackers have located a bomb.
I think they're possibly playing for the Nitro into Garage, but you got to be very careful of which operator you're taking if you're going to be attempting that, as Reliable's going to be droned out here on the second floor and go and have to opt to. Oh, I love it. The breach mirror. So, in case you missed this, if we turn towards the wall, the reason why you have the mirror right in the center of it is because you can go and pop an impact, and it's going to almost completely deny Ace. There's no Haban on the board, so the Thermite would also easily be taken care of. So now, with no Selma breaches, no secondary breaches, all the players of UND Green are now going to have to flood to their either risers, which they've already done. They've eliminated Reliable, and it's already starting to backfire, but just my absolute excitement of getting to see this is still here. Spray Plexio simplifying one, almost able to connect onto Renegade, as Frosted's also down and out of this fight. Plexios, one of the most enjoyable players to watch, just of their sheer ability to rotate around the map and just play around, is going to utilize his great ability.
To an aggressive position.
Yes. I want to highlight
for something. Go ahead. I mean, currently he hasn't got anything. You know, he's waiting for his teammates, and this is where I think the poly of UND Green is. Right.
Yeah. There's a few options here where
Yeah.
I think Brick doesn't have the opportunity to push up. They have to wait until you have someone like Renegade, bottom stairs, take out Plexios, and now you have the opportunity. You have Cole who's pushed up. Once you have that assist, you don't want to be pushing it all on your own, and that's why you're going to see that delay. You have the C4 waiting, Cole able to bait it out successfully. 35 seconds ago, all these different preemptive strikes were now utilized. A player out on the ledge waiting for it. Spray from Davies, not expecting Ace out on the ledge, and now a 1v2. The Senate having to rotate back up from red stairs, knowing that the Ace is out on the ledge. That has been properly called out. Whether or not they know, all the opportunities available going in the upside down rappel should be able to properly allow them to hold the case. Meanwhile, Cole's rotated right along the reinforcement. That's going to result in a round going the way of the attackers of UND Green as they even it out 1-1 in very much of a reclaiming of the dominant status in the round.
I am going to be straightforward, and I'm going to say I think the breach mirror is really troll. Um, Simply for the fact that when you have the breach open like that, doesn't matter if it's only a little bit and they're not actually going to be able to walk through. You've severely weakened your Raptors player, and yeah, your Raptors player is going to be able to get. I mean, I think they got literally all of the utility off that wall using their impacts, and then they died. And if your Raptors players is dead, and it doesn't matter whether or not the breach can be walked through because they could just go up the breach, up Raptors instead, right? And that's exactly what we saw. They just adapted. They said, okay, I mean, I guess we don't really need to go that way. We just go this way instead. They took their time, turned things out, got information. I mean, like, they're good at that. A little bit concerned about how they take their time doing that, but if it's working out, it's working out. If LVC can't aggress at the right time, then it's not going to, or even if LVC can't learn to sit on their hands, I don't think that necessarily Plexios needed to die there.
10 seconds to
Plexios stays
go.
alive, is able to swing that breach with another player. We're looking at a different
5
round.
seconds left
But
before
UND
insertion.
Green was able to instead adapt and put their players in the proper
Objective
positions
to
to be able
locate a
to
bomb and defuse it.
actually get that plant down, remain objective focused, and once they clear out the rafters, it's free. You just get on and you have a player on the breach. It's basically the easiest plant of your life.
I will say that me personally, I was a very huge fan of LVC's initial plan with. I know you might call
Oh,
the breach
I
there.
think it's a big plan. I think it's huge. I love it.
I think
I think they
there's
should
no
be trying
denying that
things,
it
but
worked. There's no denying
yeah.
that it worked in that scenario and that they did have ample opportunity, and it came to the frags that happened after that. So I think in that regard, calling it more of a meme strat doesn't really apply to the circumstances in which it was utilized. But Plexios back on the roam with Souls. I think that this is a set that's going to be very comfortable, as it gives off a lot of those bank vibes that you're looking for, where you have the ability to extend and rotate back as soon as you need. Renegade taking the IQ is going to be very pivotal, as they're able to go and spot out which players, the Echo, the Valkyrie, exactly what you want to see, and great adaptation from UND Green.
Double vertical play by the Buck, playing all the way up in the Logi and still getting angles onto sight. Orium looks like he wants to challenge it, which would be very bold. And I don't think he's going to. Just going to place a Nitro there for when they do eventually decide, hey, we're going to actually need to get this hatch open.
Few different opportunities here. If you're on the shoes of UND Green and we go and take a look at this round from their own perspective, they have the opportunity. They want to clear from blue. You want to have a lot of pressure, but the problem is you have yet to turn up Plexios, and it's curious to know if the Souls is now aware that there's an IQ on the opposing team of Renegade, and that could entirely spot them out and be able to send a Trax Stinger locking out blue. Emporium is going to have a successful C4. That is the Valkyrie downing Renegade, and that's a complete reversal of roles. So surprising to see it. Nade from Frosted, not going to collect any sort of damage towards LVC, and this seems more of a calm before the storm. Normally when you don't see this much action, you'd call it a stall out, but no, I want to highlight UND Green is all moving themselves into a better position, getting ready and making sure they all have a clear-cut picture. If you ever freeze and say, what are you doing and why, I guarantee they would be able to tell you. Spraying the Senate, collecting onto Brick as they go in on their own. Sloth just a little bit behind, is now inside of Moto, looking towards sight. Cole able to take a reliable spray. Cole with a second one before they are downed. Plexios will trade them out 3-2. You're going to have the Yokai drones you have to contend with. A spray on sight. Davies has Frost in their sight, and it's going to be a spray from the Senate. That's a great play from LVC, just knowing how to play around every single hole in their set, in their entire site, I want to say.
Legion killed 3 people from the same position, and none of them were looking at him. That's all I'm going to speak to on that. But on the other hand, they did do a very fantastic job. I do want to highlight that. Like you mentioned, they did a very good job of knowing what they wanted to do, what they wanted to get done, where they wanted to get map control, and that execute nearly flawless. Just a little bit of a lapse there on the Legion playing in the dry bar position there in church, right? But
Attackers need to locate and defuse
other
bombs.
than that, that execute was nearly perfect. They had, I believe they had an advantage. They gave themselves an advantage there. And with that advantage, they 100% had the right to take that round. All it would have taken was just one more kill, and LVC set it up perfectly. They did wonderfully. Or sorry, UND Green, they did wonderfully. Wow, I've been talking about LVC this whole time, and I meant UND Green. UND Green did a wonderful job figuring out exactly what they wanted to do, building that execute. Right? The attackers, orange team,
10 seconds
the
to go.
people who picked the map, UND Green.
I think there's always a big
5
change,
seconds remaining.
especially from map to map, and
Yeah.
I think that change in mentality can change the entire way a team looks. So for Lebanon Valley to now have the advantage in round count, 2-1 against UND Green. I'm curious to see what exactly they can cook up here. My biggest concern is we have a repeat of the second floor. Last time we saw the drop of Plexios that was able to capitalize onto a whole bunch of players from UND Green. So I want to see the change. I want to see a lot more adaptation in maneuvering around the defense, because nothing's changed from Lebanon Valley. So that could be Cole going and eliminating this mirror early on, or it could be the entire confrontation switching in that sense. So I'm curious, and I'm optimistic that we could see an even closer round rather than Cole having to jump in last second. And there it is. Thank you to our observer, unnamed, for being able to capture that momentous moment as Cole doing the thing a Twitch drone will do best, and that's getting right on into sight and popping a mirror. With 2 minutes to go, this has been a lot more of an even-footed round as Reliable finally breaks the tension. Down goes Brick, and on that gridlock, that's a very pivotal role that's been doing a great job of closing out a lot of the opportunities of Lebanon Valley to rotate.
Plexios is doing Plexios things. We see him all the way in the basement, walking up the main stairs, and he's prepared for this engagement. That's inevitable here between Frosted and Plexios. But I think Plexios gets cut out because he decides to take off running. That's going to make sure that he lives another day, and Lebanon Valley maintains their man advantage. And that is only a man advantage. I would say UND Green really has a lot of control here. They've already got the mirror open. They've got the breach open. They've got a lot of time to sit here and set up. But now, this time, they're not going to be falling victim to this player, the mute, inside of bathroom. They know that he's there. They're not going to be walking past him and making the same mistake they did last time. Now, that just means they just have to sit back, set up, and prepare for their execute, which is something that they know how to do. They know how to make these calls. Now it's just actually getting it done.
Plexios inside CC should have a good opportunity here. Swing it on the window if no one's expecting it. They are, but it doesn't matter. Plexios has a kill onto Frosted. Meanwhile, it's an absolute sea of blue as the Senate and Davis collect onto their respective players. Reconciliation frag for Sloth, but they're led up to a severe amount of HP, staring down the remaining 4 barrels of the defenders. Able to down Emporium with that spray. Make that 3. Can they isolate all 1v1s, or is it going to have to be an absolutely sensational play? Emporium, revive back up. It's going to have to be a jump into this bathroom. We talked about angles where you can't look down for the frost mat, because the moment you look down, you're going to get sprayed, and there's Reliable to capture LVC yet another round as they go up 3-1.
I mean, technically speaking there, he does have the option to just look to the side, because he could pick himself up. I mean, he's not going to be able to do it in time, but he could do it, right? But in any case, there's a round that LVC just showing they've got the gun skill, right? And I mean, tell me if you disagree. I think LVC, yes, they've been adaptable, and yes, they've been able to talk, call audibles, etc., and be unpredictable. But I think the thing that sets these two teams apart the most isn't either of those things, where LVC is this super adaptable team that's unpredictable, and UND is a team that's able to call their executes, right? I think the things so far that set them apart the most, and given Lebanon Valley the advantage both on bank and here, they've got some players that just shoot really, really good. They're really good at shooting. But I digress. We're here on the next round, and they're going to be playing the front mirror again. You've heard my take on this. I don't need to go over it again. But at the same time, I do think it is a valid play, especially if they're going to be able to maintain control of rafters. I think they just might need to dedicate a little bit more hold onto garage. Remember, this is the only site that they lost. It's technically, I believe, the worst site on the map. But if they get a player able to play in lower garage, make sure they're not pushing in on them, or even just playing swamp, we could be looking at a really solid Lebanon Valley round over UND Green.
We'll see if they're able to solidify their control over the wall. And Emporium playing downstairs was drawn out very early on, and I need to see that this entire pressure that they have is at least able to hold until the minute 30 mark. Otherwise, I can't justify that extension, as it's just too easy, and not enough utility is going to be allocated by UND Green to justify keeping your mirror there. So that's just something to look for in the future in a setup where you can go and check your bot and see if there's ever a better way to be setting up. And perhaps the mirror down below could work in a very dominant fashion, but they're a heavy 3 armor. They're going to make a lot of noise as they rotate back to site. That's also most likely in that position to be able to go up and play the C4 denial, as well as the Senate having that ability. So interesting to see Renegade using one of those summer breaching charges from up above, spray from Cole, not able to find the player of Emporium who's sitting. And that's going to actually be Emporium collecting on the kill. Meanwhile, Plexios onto Brick, but inside a supply, the ace of Renegade will refrag onto Emporium, giving us a 4-3. Can they collect onto a second one? And Plexios, the double refragging machine, will not be the case for Renegade, as they are all out of summer breaching charges. Another confrontation going down up by Bedroom as well as Construction. That's really important to note, as there's entire elements of this site that are not even taking place. And you do see that now in this round, the impact towards the wall did not work successfully, and you will have to go on the rappel to jump in through that, but it doesn't change that you have a very dominant hold that you're able to use. Renegade out from that same mirror window will catch the Senate lacking, and now open things up to being a 3v3. Great round from the ace so far, as they've done a great job of shutting down their opponents at every turn. Sloth sitting inside of Construction, looking towards Bedroom, really aiming to deal with Plexios best they can. Jumping out. What a shot from Plexios! Meanwhile, a triple kill from Renegade, as they're able to take out Reliable, and it's going to be a fight of the absolute juggernauts. The Souls of Plexios going against the ace of Renegade. Plexios able to collect I believe that's the 3rd kill onto Sloth, having a very dominant performance, spraying in, and that's a quad kill from Renegade, coming down to the 2 top frags on each opposing roster. Plexios having all of the health required for this engagement, only taking a single shot, and Renegade all lit up to a single sliver, as LBC will take that one and complete a perfect sweep of sights, going up 4-1 as we have the final round and a half.
Lebanon Valley looks really dominant right now. And yes, that last round was a lot closer, much thanks to the escapades of Renegade. Absolutely dominating, putting himself in positions where he is not expected, despite playing on the breach, but he's able to collect the kills nonetheless. I think, once again, we need to talk about Plexios, though. This man just absolutely obliterating the entire opposition. It's like
Attackers need to locate
Plexios
and defuse
versus,
bombs.
UND Green is almost nuclear bomb versus coughing baby levels, right? And remember, in the last game, he had 17-7. Now he's 10-3. This man is absolutely just melting through UND Green, and certainly so far they just don't have a response to it. Renegade very close, but I will say a lot of Renegade's ability to find a lot of those picks, the opening picks, the trades, etc., that he did find, came from his ability to play in an unpredictable way off of information that his teammates had gathered for
10
him,
seconds left before
right?
insertion.
And that's no different from Plexios. But
5 seconds
UND
left
Green is
before
losing their teammates faster than Lebanon Valley is. And part of that's by nature of the fact that they're an attacking team.
Uh-oh.
But at the end, oh no!
Defender exposed.
Oh,
My heart skipped a beat there. I can't lie to you, Yali.
no,
I've seen
wow.
Plexios do Plexios things, as you said, and that definitely would have been one of them. Thankfully for UND Green, we're still gonna have an even 5-on-5 in
located by
Plexios,
attackers.
giving away their location and operator to the entirety of the UND Green roster.
Initial stages of the round, UND Green has no responsibility other than making sure they don't get run out on and droning in a little bit. They don't really want to get their drones caught here, but it's not that big of a deal if they are, because at this point they just want information. They're trying to decide how to take this. But there you go. You're losing your primary heart breach. Renegade, first player off the board, the player who almost saved the last round. Doesn't look fantastic for UND just off that single pick alone.
It's been very interesting to watch Plexios engage and disengage throughout the entire map of Clubhouse, as it's adapted through these multiple rounds, finally taking a significant amount of damage here inside of Stockroom, and this is probably where they might meet their demise and make their final stand. But with a minute 30 4 and 5 to go in the round. That's exactly what you want to see, and it's going to get caught on the rotate back, as there really wasn't many other options, but you've delayed time enough that you're going to force UND Green to go and have to take certain elements of the map, elements of the basement that they might not fully understand. Last time we saw that a lot of the players here were not properly droned out, but a spray from up above from Frosted, great job on the gridlock, will eliminate Emporium. They're going to be relegated to watching the Valkyrie cameras for the remaining elements of this round. Minute to go. Pressure mounting for Lebanon Valley as they have a lot more pressure on them than expected. Cole with great information on Reliable. It's going to be all left up to Davis and the Senate. Seeing the Maverick jumping in, they're going to have to jump off as the Maverick knows their exact location, pinged from the IQ. And this is the accumulation of UND Greens, repetition on the same sites, understanding the way LVC intends to play them. And it's starting to shape up exactly like a typical split here on Clubhouse. Brick taking a tiny bit of damage, but is going to wait for the rest of their team to arrive to make a proper assault onto the Senate. Plan being attempted by Cole, assisted from up above, should be successful. The Senate has the rotate option, is going to have to contend with their own mirror, and Brick, the Maverick that made the entrance into sight, will allow for UND Green to go into the half 4-2 with hope in the second half.
Honestly, excellent execute by UND Green. I mean, what would I be saying if it wasn't an excellent execute by UND Green, right? It always is. They know what they're doing. No one's shutting them down. I don't care if you've got the echo cam, if you have the information. UND Green knows when they can exploit the holes in Lebanon Valley's defenses, and they just do it. They don't hesitate. There's no, I don't know if we should be doing this. It's they gather the information, they understand what they need to do, and they just do it. Lebanon Valley, sometimes they shoot back, but sometimes Plexios goes 1-for-1. And that kind of hurts a little bit. Lebanon Valley is going to be switching over to our attacking sides. We're going to have to see how they actually do on that side. UND Green might just pull out the most successful, amazing defensive half that we've ever seen, just absolutely locking things down. I mean, given their performance on Bank, what do you think they're actually going to be looking like on Clubhouse? What do you think, Banks?
Well, we can go and look towards their gym bedroom setup, and I think we might have a little bit of a light extension. Gym bedroom, you see a lot of emphasis on cache, and I could see the Warden either playing inside of office or towards that cache area for that extension and just playing for a close angle, trying to shut down where possible. Do I think that's 100% going to happen? No, and I think that the castle could also take up that mantle. I'm really unsure about how much emphasis UND Green wants to put onto that roam, as they have a few different options on who they could leave for it. But I have a few curiosities to the lack of a Mira pick and how that's going to shape up. I know Mira is not essential to this site, but with the way that you have LVC looking to pressure and take a lot of commotion and create chaos, the Mira allows you to have a clear-cut way to see through it. So you're going to be relying a lot more on Brick on the Warden to be able to constantly see through the mess that is LVC's attack.
I mean, they could be bringing all kinds of smokes and flashes, right? I would not be surprised to see LVC bringing exactly what they need to deny a lot of lines of sight. LVC was a team that we saw thrive off of adaptation, but a lot of that comes from gathering some information, seeing if they can force a hole. If they can't force a hole, they'll adapt, right? And on Clubhouse, there's too many long sight lines, and it's so linear that unless you are cutting those off somehow via, for example, smokes, you're not going to be able to force a hole in the way that you can on Bank. I think that potentially we could see a lot of smoke play coming out here. LVC potentially could be prone to that, but as well, I want to point out, I just think that the gridlock, I mean, geez, got nades, they're going to be playing below. I think more than what I've mentioned thus far, it's going to be something consistent, right? Lots of play all over the map, trying to find a pick, force the hole, take.
I'm curious, which one of us will... I think we both have a lot of elements that could be viewed as correct in this initial defensive setup from UND Green. but I'm very interested to see how LVC goes and tailors their attack to this sort of approach. We can't shy away from mentioning the three hard breach approach, which generally will show a lot of life in being able to open up as many walls as required using the Maverick to take care of the holes. That's exactly what we see from Emporium as Renegades stuck on a camera. You might be able to see their feet. You got to look for their feet. Come on, you're missing out on a golden opportunity here. Absolutely unfortunate. As the Bandit will have more than enough ample opportunity to rotate off the wall, understanding and just waiting. They're going to have to go for the C4. If this is prepped properly, it's going to be zapped by their own wall. That's excruciating. Oh, it's shot out. Thank you. I forgot that electricity no longer affects defensive gadgets. So great coverage from the Maverick, and definitely setting up right in to cash is going to be Brick. Brick has a couple options here, but not expecting the aggressive push to be one of them. They'll be downed in the process. As the initial push from LVC.
Expect the aggressive push. He's got the support that he needs to be able to play there.
He has the support.
While he's still down.
He has the support, but it's a matter of how long can you sustain that. And you know that he's going to go down being a human drone. Sometimes you just want to have someone on cameras. Down goes Brick. The rappel from the center is going to do a little bit of chip damage to Cole, rotating right back into sight. And we have a little bit of a interesting confrontation. Plexios is going to be the first player to go and initiate contact right inside of construction. This is one of the pivotal points because you have multiple angles you have to be aware of. Once you clear office, it makes it a lot easier, and that's exactly what they're going to opt to do. Davies clearing this out. That means you only have to worry about the single breach inside of office as well as the single doorway. If you're able to play around that, you're able to play with your players, secure case. This entire one-sided push that started off over towards the west can continue from the east. Interesting sound manipulation. You want to use as many holes in the wall. You want to use every single ability, every single bit of information you can grab. Now, we may have the outlines, but the players on the other side do not, as shots ring out all the way from Jim, and the crossfire will be the end of LVC. Pushing in, Plexios will even the odds. Davies still down. Renegade spraying from inside. A triple kill for Plexios as they spring the trap. Frosted sitting inside of Jim. Do they have the information required? Springing right onto the head. It's going to be Plexios to win that one out. Down goes Frosted. LVC clutching it out of the grasp of UND Green. What a rout.
He's just too good. I mean, what else is there to say there? Right? He is going in and he's cleaning up. Lebanon Valley, it's kind of a sloppy execute, but they're finding the trades. They got it down to their 1v1. And guess who was the last person in line? It was Plexios. He just went through, swept them all out. Wow. I mean, it's simply just phenomenal play by Plexios.
It's the vision there.
It's the vision. Yes.
You need to understand that when you're going... That's Plexios being able to put their mind, whether they realize it or not, into their opponents and understand where they would be holding from and what they're exactly expecting. The perfect amount of time to delay and wait. You've played your utility on the other side of the map. It's that ability to use the fact that you have feet and you can rotate. That clears up so much of the pressure. And yes, both of their teammates might have gone down early on, but it's Plexios' sheer ability to rotate and play and understand. The final kill onto the castle, and Frosted did a great job that round. I think it really made a difference of the movement to not slowly peak, to peak and keep moving. That's where the UMP really struggles, where you know you're gonna have to deal with a gun that has a slower fire rate. So great job, Plexios. I don't like that we constantly are bringing them up, but it's actually playing the Amaru, who has the ability.
Amaru. He's 15-4, and he's playing Amaru. What do you think the odds are he just goes straight through a window? No, he's going up to the roof.
It could be to play a rotation game to spring the trap and a scare tactic, or even to rotate back up to the roof after being inside of office if they want to go and try to clear that. But these are such niche examples that I'm left with a few more questions than I am answered currently.
What if he goes up through a hatch?
I
do agree. I hate that this This is becoming the what is Plexios gonna do kind of game. But like honestly, what is he gonna do, right? LVC has something up their sleeve. Obviously, I mean they're gonna manage to get this wall open. It might just take them a little bit longer, but they're gonna get it open. And there it is.
There's no question here. We're this entire push that you're seeing, it's hard to go and shoot a nitro cell towards that. You're waiting for the right amount of time. My biggest problem now comes within, if you're gonna split your resources, if you're gonna have Plexios go and do their own thing, you have to understand that LVC is going to go and have a split push from Cash, and that's what you're taking away from. You have a single player that is gonna try to pull the attention of the entirety of LVC that's focusing on this eastern side of the map. There's a whole bunch of different elements, and I think LVC's stalled out a bit. UND Green have done a great job with your utility usage, although it's the same operators that we saw previously. They've held. Plexios springing the trap inside of office with 2 as the entirety of LVC waiting for the right time, push and make their way in. Brick and Cole, the remaining 2 players, are on the side of Cash. Plexios will get a 3K, down goes Cole, all with the SMG-11. Now Brick looking, able to find Plexios. Down they go, their 5th death on the match, giving them a crazy 3 point, it looks like 3.25 even KD, and that is off, but Brick spraying in, gonna have to find one. Down goes the Senate.
Wow.
This is now a lot more obtainable. Triple kill for Brick. Has to isolate the 1v1 here. How can they do that? How can they swing around? You have to deal with a player inside the bathroom, player inside of office. They're able to find the one. Quad kill for Brick. Straight towards bathroom. No Emporium to shut them down. The absolute insanity that is unfolding in front of our eyes is UND Green having highlight reel plays or just getting shut down at the final moment. These are excruciating, heartbreaking losses as Lebanon Valley will go up 6-2. This is unexpected for the Green roster. And I'm left with just sorrow as it's just so close, so much within their grasp, but just not able to capture it in the final moments.
You remember at the beginning of this map, and I said, "Oh, I think this is going to support UND Green's playstyle." I think I was thinking a little bit too much about UND Green's playstyle. I think it does support their playstyle. Like you mentioned, they did excellent with their utility play.
Need to locate and defuse
But they
as
just
many
weren't
bombs as they
expecting
can.
the second that got open, Plexio sent himself through the hatch and got a 2K and opened up the floodgates for the rest of the team to push through. Meanwhile, they still had players, UND Green being, they still had players on the other side of the map in cache, in server. They still had players over there. And so did Lebanon, right? Lebanon's keeping the pressure over there so that they don't see that coming. Just the ability to manipulate what UND thinks is going on. Just brilliant. Lebanon, UND had absolutely no clue that was going to happen, and Lebanon engineered it that way. Brilliant play, excellent calling. I mean, just bravo.
I'm curious. I'm really curious. I want to see UND Green compete the way I know that they can, but it just seems like this is completely different. This is the greatest win margin that we've seen from these two teams this season. The greatest one being 7-4 victory for both sides. And I do just want to confirm this, that it was UND Green that initially won with both these teams. Yeah, UND Green was able to beat Lebanon Valley in a best of 3, 2-1. Oh no, I am losing my mind. It was Lebanon Valley. I did read the stat sheet wrong and continue to do so, as they were able to win 2-1. So interesting to see LVC completely adapt as the Senate will capture the opening frag onto Sloth. I think that we do need to highlight Renegade, Brick, and Cole from the side of UND Green, as they've done a great job of being able to have their breakout plays, but just not able to finishing it off. And hopefully that sort of utility usage or that mentality can go and propel this team to a higher status in the future or in the next map. That way they can jump back from this. As 5-3, we're going to have to see a really big jump out and expressive play from these remaining 3 players.
This is such a North American playstyle from LVC. You see it in T1, in not the NACL, but E2, where, hey, we're gonna drone them out. Okay, let's get aggressive on this player. And you absolutely, positively have to have players playing behind those players. It's like, look at this. Renegade completely left out in the dark. He doesn't have anyone else from UND coming to actually help him out. This looks to me like a team that says, oh, we're 6-2. We're going to go on autopilot. They left Renegade out, right? He's dead. They've got every single player on Lebanon Valley getting aggressive against UND, and it is brutal. Lebanon playing a brilliant game against this, and UND Green just struggling to come up with any sort of an answer.
I think we got to see this final moment. Cole needs to try to capture 2 here. 1, to deny a flawless round, and 2, just to deny these players ample opportunity, but needs to wait for them to make the first move before they spring the trap. That is going to be the most pivotal part. They haven't drawn them out, and this is the problem with autopilot. If you go and try to rush in now, you could be paying dividends for those actions. Nade cooked out Plexios. If they were to just turn behind them, Cole still undetected. Did they hear the drop? Yes, they did. Trying to find 2, but it's going to be the crossfire, resulting in a flawless round for Lebanon Valley as they win their second map and their opponent's map pick at that.
Just not quite finding those kills, and it's going to give the map over to Lebanon Valley. Just absolutely brutalized. I don't think there's another way to put it. I mean, right, North Dakota University, they managed to pull 2 rounds, and they were very solid looking rounds. They did a very good job. But Lebanon Valley, just on a completely different wavelength. This is an aggressive map. You can jump out the windows. You can get aggressive doing basically anything you want to do. And Lebanon Valley took full advantage of that. Just no chance for North Dakota University to actually find anything, to get aggressive back in the other direction, to find an answer. It just didn't happen. Just shut down no matter what kind of play you wanted to make. Just LVC proving that they have the gun skill to go and run through UND Green here.
Well, we'll see exactly how this continues to shape up. I'm rather interested, as I think that UND Green should hopefully be able to have an answer and be able to bring the answer that we're looking for. And I believe our next map should, now correct me, 'cause I'm saying should, we'll be going over to Cafe. And I think that verticality should be a very interesting note for the entire match. We saw double verticality like we normally do with the buck being taken by UND Green. I'd like to see for that exact same sort of mentality to continue. And I think if we go and see a good Cafe matchup, that cookie cutter sort of mentality could very much favor North Dakota. But equal parts LVC. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more NECC action. Just a quick 5-minute break. See you soon. Welcome back, everyone, to your NECC Rainbow Six Siege Championship. My name is Binks, joined by the one and only Yali. We have LVC taking on UND Green, and they've done an absolutely great job of LVC, that is, taking control of this entire matchup, winning their opponent's map pick in the best of 5. And that means that this next map that we have in Cafe, that you can see behind our lovely faces, could be our final match of the entire night and could win the entire championship. And it feels weird saying that in a best of 5, only going to 3 maps.
Yeah, I listen, it's been said a couple times that for every barn burner best of 5, there's 2 dozen other best of 5s that could have been done a map earlier, right? But we have yet to see if that's actually going to be that way. My prediction, I think LVC is going to take it. I think they just look so dominant, just in terms of gun skill, in terms of having Plexios and managing to enable him. I think there's still a lot of growth that LVC can have, but they look really dominant. They look really good, and the North Dakota University, they're struggling to really catch back up to that. They haven't found any answers yet to what LVC has put on the table. And questioning whether or not they will, it's hard to know. But we're going to find out on Cafe as soon as both the teams are ready. So, really excited to see how this actually plays out because while we love LVC, the UND comeback would go pretty hard right about now. Not going to lie.
I like to see it.
Yeah.
I'm always here for the best matchup that we can get. That's always my favorite thing. I don't necessarily care about who wins or loses. I just want a good match. And I know that UND has the ability to give us that. And I'm just waiting for the ample opportunity for them to just shut down. And I need to highlight that it's been LVC's ability to enable Plexios. And it's not just, oh, Plexios did this and this and this. What a crazy player. No, no, no. You need to rely. This is still a team game, and yes, the individual gun skill can make a huge difference in a round where you have an absolutely crazy player on your team. So I'm interested to see if they are able to properly utilize, or for UND to properly shut that down on a map like Cafe. There's still a lot of rotation options, and I'm curious if we might actually get to see an Oryx in this sort of regard.
What I would really like to see, as far as shutting down Plexios, well, I mean, okay, you could shut down Plexios, but Emporium is also still a monster, right? Emporium is still like just
Yeah.
destructive. But in any case, I mean, it's a strategy that a lot of teams, like we see it all over pro play, where they'll find the best player on the opponent's team and they'll all just rush him.
That's a good
And
idea.
yeah, honestly, no, I think that's an excellent play that could
I
possibly
want to
happen by North
highlight
Dakota.
something as well. I always like to look forward, and the same way, if you have a season that gets cut short for some of our R6 teams, you should still be practicing until the end of the finals, so you have a good idea of setting that expectation. And I know that a lot of football teams will continue to do that, even if they don't make it back to the finals. They'll go and train all the way up until that final date that they would be required to in a season where they do, just to have that sort of mentality. And I want to highlight that here, because if you go to look at our first 4 maps, you still want to plan for the next one. And the next one would be Oregon, which plays similar to Cafe in that you have a lot of really solidified sort of mentality of how to go and approach that map. But with Cafe, you have that same element of verticality, but we have to talk while we can about that final map of Night Haven. I'm scared to go to it because I don't know what to expect from the collegiate scene, as I've never seen it go to that map.
Uh, Night Haven makes me happy. It's basically, I will not hide it. I don't like Clubhouse as a map. I think it's been the exact same map for 4 years. Even with the operator changes, somehow they just managed to miss operators that makes it play any differently for like 4 years straight.
I mean,
And then they
what about
introduced
old
Night Haven.
Clubhouse? What about old Clubhouse?
That was changed literally like almost 5 years ago.
You know
Like
what? If maybe I'm getting old, but it feels like just yesterday. I can still
it really
picture
does.
that map
But
has
no,
had
as
2
far as
different
I'm
reworks.
concerned, Night Haven is basically just like the better Clubhouse. It plays the way that Clubhouse plays, but not stale and with a little bit more variability and different options for the way that you could play it. So I would love to see it personally, and not just because that would mean UND has made the best comeback of all time, but I like that map. I really like it.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get around to that. We just need to take a quick little break as we get all these players ready to go for our Mappa Cafe. And when we'll be back in just a short couple of minutes, we'll be right into Cafe. Don't go anywhere. NECC returns in just a few. Welcome back to your NECC Rainbow Six Siege division. My name is Binks, joined by the one and only Yali. And we are just about to jump into Cafe after making sure that everything was sorted out. And do you have any bans that you are expecting to see? We've seen the Montang knocked off the board. We've seen the Habana go. There's so many wild, I think more on the attacking side, we've seen a little bit more range, but anyone you're really looking to get out because of just the dominance that we've seen in a previous map?
No. No,
No?
I think yeah, I think honestly whatever they whatever they put Plexios and Emporium on, they're gonna be fine.
Well, I know the
I think
Souls. I'm
that
mainly looking to be banned out.
I could see that, but Solus, okay. This is an issue that I've had with the way the LVC has been playing. Yeah, they've been playing Solus and they've had drones, et cetera, right? But Solus hasn't really been cleaning up the drones very well. I think LVC could have looked a lot more dominant, especially on bank, if their Solus was cleaning up the drones a lot better and preventing UND from doing what they do best, which is gathering information and formulating and execute.
I guess we'll have to see how exactly they can manage that. Attacking bans here on Cafe. I think we could potentially see the Habana taken out again. But I'm really not sure. I don't think Habana plays that
Yeah,
much of a dangerous role. The Montang,
I
very real.
I think if anything, they should probably be banning the Doke. Well, I think they should be banning the IQ because the IQ is providing an
Yeah.
ungodly amount of information. Um, but I don't think I either. There was one team. I don't remember if it was LVC or UND that was making use of the IQ. I'm
It
pretty
was
sure it was
UND.
UND. Yeah, I don't think LVC knows that IQ was actually gathering it as much information as she was and able to feed plays and locations to the player so effectively.
Oh yeah, the
Right.
IQ is what led to one of UND Green's or it's not 2 round wins, one of their big round wins on Clubhouse. So I saw that as a very monumental change in pace and something I was expecting to piggyback a little bit more off of. However, that was not the case, and LVC did end up running away with it on Clubhouse. So we'll see exactly what the case is there and what happens.
Yeah, but in any case, I am definitely looking forward to getting into this, which we will as soon as we have all the players ready. Sorry for the extended break. Wouldn't be a siege production, right? We're waiting on just one more player, so we'll be back in pretty soon. But
Yeah, I think I'll keep diving deeper and deeper as I'd love to pick your brain on some of the intricacies
mhm.
that in this map is. You talked about Clubhouse feeling a little bit stale at times, but I'd almost go and argue that Cafe can fall victim to that exact same sort of mentality, especially here in the collegiate scene.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think things that could happen that change it up a little bit more, right? We could be seeing things like an extension into bakery. We could be seeing like an Azami, which now that we're thinking about it, yeah, it should be banned off the board. But we could see an Azami and Piano just putting up absolute numbers. I'm expecting to see at least one kill through the little tiny crack that looks up into the red hatch from Piano. I guarantee that's going to happen. I don't know which way it's gonna be. I, yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. I think there's something like there's a little bit here. But, no, I do tend to agree. I think one thing that will be interesting to see is if LVC decides to bring an Echo. I know they did that a handful of times against UND Green, especially on Bank, just simply for the fact that UND Green does take a long time to execute. I think Lebanon Valley, if they bring that Echo and start putting up a good amount of resistance just in terms of
Twitch.
time rather than man, that could be something that we see that gets interesting, 'cause it's always fun to see the Echo, the classic Echo counter diffuse on, on the bottom floor site, kitchen. Yeah, Twitch off the board is
Expected in the
most
Mont.
certainly a play.
Oh, odd.
Also a play.
Very odd. I don't even. Are we going to lose the Warden off the board next? Is that not what we're?
Okay. I will speak to the Twitch a little bit. I have a feeling that UND Green wants to play Mira. If Lebanon doesn't ban her here, which they banned the Azami as I predicted.
Yeah,
Um,
zombie. That's no surprise. Now the question is, do you ban Twitch and Mira? No, you don't really do that. We can see a Valkyrie off the board. We can see a Kaid off the board. I'm looking more information, but I see the Mira slipping through. As that's the sort of mentality UND is giving off. I agree with that. Their souls. Yeah,
oh, there you
that's more
go.
information. Now we were mostly right in the defensive side but the defense has been very very predictable.
The attacker side was a little wild, but I think it makes sense. You did mention Monty. I didn't think it was going to happen, but now both teams have banned Monty,
No,
which is kind of funny.
no, it's been LVC both times.
Was it LVC?
Yeah,
it was LVC both times. You're right, despite LVC playing it on Bank.
Yeah, so they played it on Bank and have been banning it ever since. So, like you said, maybe they know something that we don't, but very questionable. We have Reliable starting off in the Amaru and Plexios on the Sledge. I like that LVC has been changing their rules a lot, and I don't like to speculate on attacker lineup too early on. So we can look at what can't be changed, and that is going to be the defense. And you talked about the Mira setup, and I'm going to pick your brain again quickly as what type of Mira setup we could be receiving and having to see on this site.
Normally, what you see is the Mira. Yeah, it is over there. It's by stacks up, looking into freezer because you can open up the whole wall and see all the piano. Only problem is there's two problems. LVC are going for a pace setting play, and the other one is that Mira is on the wrong side.
No, you can shoot that from the window.
The cocktail window. And on top of that, look at the lineup that LVC is bringing. That is a cocktail take lineup. That is a fast cocktail take lineup. There is no chance that this holds a candle to what LVC is about to do, just by nature of LVC as the exact counter to what UND Green has set up, though, so far.
They do have the Wamai, which is a good choice when dealing with a Capitao, that's one of the people that can grab it, but Reliable, springing the trap, they're going to go right on into Fireplace Hall. Meanwhile, the Senate is going to take a slight bit of damage. Meanwhile, Reliable, have they been droned out? Has the audio cue been there? Is the Legion of Sloth just waits patiently, trying to get as many goo mines down as possible, droned out, not necessarily checking their back. You mentioned that this is definitely going to be a cocktail-sided push from the eastern side, but it's been very slow, methodical waiting. Sloth just holding as much time as possible. Meanwhile, you have the Mira holding from the window. The second E1D scan will allow Plexios to slowly spring the trap, moving on forward, looking for the head. Nope, they're going to get shut down by the Sloth. Meanwhile, the Senate is able to find Brick, pushing up. Sloth doing a great job of holding thus far in the round. A spray from the Amaru as two more players now have to clear out the Legion of Sloth from down below. Meanwhile, from up above, you're going to have Renegade playing off of their Mirror, playing for the vertical holes instead. This is a very curious situation, as just turning at the wrong time will be Renegade being able to catch the Amaru, not be able to find the shots that they were originally looking for. Now we can see that they plan to use the castle barricade to block out, but that puts a lot more emphasis on the white stairs and allows for a lot more security up into Cocktail. Reliable has the opportunity to go and repel and grapple up through the hatch. That will not be the scenario for now. C4 prepped out the window. Great throw by Renegade. Down goes Emporium. Now down to a 3v3. 1 minute remaining. Lebanon Valley is going to have to spring the trap sooner rather than later. Reliable is going up on the rappel. Possibly use that Gera hook to spring the trap into Cocktail. You talked about exactly this and the mentality as you have to get into sight as fast as possible. Cole dealing with exfoliating bullets, having to spray from each side, but it's going to be Davies jumping in. Refragged by Renegade. Down goes Reliable. The Senate is also going to have to go and hold as much as they can. Frosted waiting for the impact. He's going to wait for Renegade to assist them. The Senate out on the rappel. Can they hold? Are they going to get jumped out on? Do they have the Claymore? So many questions without answers, but it won't matter. Davies with a 3K on the round. Frosted having to rotate all the way around to Cigar's shop. They have the long angle to contend with. They have the 1.5 amplified scope to make this just slightly easier. The player playing from down below will be Davies. Still has 2 bullets waiting and ready as the diffuser is already lit on fire. Great use of the warm eye puck. You're going to have to isolate as many frags as possible. You didn't make a noise there. You're going to have to wait. And with 7 seconds to go, there is absolutely no choice. Great shot to shut down Davies. And a second spray. Double kill for Frosty. Good for the stats, but not enough time to get that one done. And that's going to be LBC grabbing that one out of the hands, I feel, of UND Green. But also very well read into the setup, as you said. A teeter-totter of sorts.
What a wild setup. Like, bringing the castle to block the Mira there, I think is kind of genius. For the fact that you get to block it there, and then on top of that, as you mentioned, there's a lot of emphasis on the white stairs. There is almost no way anyone is getting up white stairs, and no one did. But then it didn't matter, right? Even though you're able to play around that Mira on both sides because of the castle barricade on the freezer door, right? You're able to hold down that top white position. There is not a single crossfire looking into Cocktail. There is one player in Cocktail, and he has exactly 0 support once they clear out that Legion. I'd like to mention that as well. That Legion down on the bottom floor. Excellent play, excellent positioning. That's probably the support that they were looking for to hold Cocktail. Super easy to clear out, right? We saw the Amaru go in dining, and the Legion was just completely stuck there. Would have liked to see Plexios get a little bit more support on his swing, actually. Or not, sorry, not Plexios. It was Plexios. I think it was Emporium on the Amaru, right? Plexio needs to get support from the Amaru. Amaru needs to be swinging with him onto that Legion so that they don't have to try and trade it later. Good play by Emporium to shoot at that wall to make sure that ultimately Sloth is taken care of, disposed of, dispatched, and removed off of the board. But at the end of the day, what I'm seeing right now is wow, nice shot. But at the end of the day, what I'm seeing right now, very similar setup to what we had last time, and I think it's going to play out almost exactly the same way, like 280.
Attackers bomb diffuser has been dropped. Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
What aggression on the skylight.
Sorry about that.
Yet.
We still have having a little problems with the on and off switch of a microphone. It's very difficult to utilize. Yeah, crazy stuff, eh? LVC, I really like the initial impact they've made in changing more of that cookie cutter format to go top down. The part that I'm curious about, and are we going to see... Okay, Reliable blows that up. Oh, damn! Down goes Emporium. Great shot by Brick. That's once again the advantage going the way of UND Green early on, and you're going to have the Ying Candelas. Are we going to see a drop from Lebanon Valley? Yes, we are. Dropping right into the heat of sight. Davies is going to go for a plant behind bar. Why would they go for this? Because you can still hold from up above, but is there any player that is still left up watching that? Plexios able to find one. Meanwhile, you got the dose. Still playing on the Dokeby. Second ring is going to go out with 40 seconds to go. You want to have hit ring. You want to have as much chaos as possible. Cold to take out Davies. Plexios, Reliable. Do they have what it takes? Reliable is going to be the lonesome player waiting on roof, and you want to make sure that you have enough of an impact to try to prevent as much as possible. Plexios takes out Sloth. Now bringing this down to a 2v3. Cole pushing up. Plexios with a quad kill, swinging around, causing an absolute commotion. Can they get the ace? No, they can't. Renegade goes, looking for the case, doesn't know where to find it. It's all the way behind bar. You're running out of time if you're even going to tap it. It's all the way around. You make your location, but with 5 seconds to go, you don't even have the opportunity to grab it with the pistol out. Waiting, wishing, There's the breaching charge. You don't gotta do him that dirty. LVC taking the second consecutive round off the back of Plexios having just the absolute dominating ability to swing around and play inside a cigar shop. I'm amazed.
So I have not been more wrong in my life.
I doubt
Um, okay, listen. Uh, but listen, what they did is UND Green, they adapted. They did a good job. They removed the legions from that position. I think at that point you can make an aggressive play into cocktail, but it didn't work out. More aggressive plays coming out from UND Green were the an effective adaptation. But then LVC showed us why they're LVC, right? We mentioned it over and over and over again in Bank. Their adaptations are just peak. They were able to look at the site and be like, there's like 3 players off site. Just ying all that, jazz and just fucking go in, right?
I am very surprised that they made the shot call and then completely sent it. There's so many ways for that to go wrong, and the Senate being able to hold properly just created an absolute chaos, and the lack of information on the site as well for them to not know where case was planted. I don't even know if default was originally shot. It might have been shot early round, but they didn't really make too much of an impact in. So I'm left with more questions than answers from UND Green, and I'm curious as to how exactly this match will continue to line up. But if you are in the shoes of UND Green, you just lost the same site twice. You need to figure something out, and you need to pick it up now because your back is against the wall. You don't want to dig yourself a grave this early on in the matchup.
Yeah, going up 2 right away on Cafe attack is dominant. Any way you slice it. Cafe has a tendency to be sided, not necessarily attacker or defender sided, but when you see it, it's a lot of times it will be either attacker sided or strongly defender sided.
Oh, ouch!
Very close.
You know what? They get away with the rifle. They get away with their life. That could make a really big difference as the clear of the top floor comes well underway. And what we're seeing right now, Yali, is exactly that cookie cutter clear where you start top and make your way down.
Yeah, I mean, it's super simple. Brick taking a lot of damage for the early aggression, but at this point, he doesn't really need to keep it up. He's going to make his way back down to the bottom floor because he doesn't need to be up there anymore. They've already wasted time, and Lebanon Valley is going to take a little bit more just to make sure that it's all clear. Once they do have control of that, yeah, once they have control of that, that player is not going to survive for 30 seconds. Okay, unless he moves, which he does. But even then, they have so much vertical control, and there's going to be very little room in the site, especially with Ram and Buck on the board. There's going to be so much vert open up onto the site. It's going to be impossible to play in any of the deep corners that you need to deny any plants, right? To deny the ability to actually get in and plant.
I'm curious as to how UND Green is going to be able to respond to this because a minute 15 of pure vertical pressure is very scary to contend with, and you see Cole running around. It becomes a game of cat and mouse, except the mice down below are able to fight back with explosives. Not something you'd normally expect from this game. You have Renegade and Cole who will be able to do the forefront of that damage. Brick, who should probably not be on site due to their limited amount of HP, also has an impact, but I don't see that being utilized in this sort of capacity. 45 seconds to go. Good on the players of UND to rotate off as we're still at a 5 versus 5 formation. The Jackals slowly starting to make their way down. That's reliable. Do they boycott this Warden? Do they push right towards the site? But that's over-aggression from Renegade, trying to spray for 2. Are they good for it? No, they're not, but it's going to be a spray from Davies inside of Freezer. But here's Frosted. They have the information. Do they have the swing? Not necessarily. They know they have the down. That's Frosted. Plexios. The fragging machine looking for it. Skeleton key in hand. Down goes Frosted. Emporium looking for the refrag, but Plexios is there and ready to collect. C4 into the hands of Cole.
10 seconds to go.
As well as the MP7. Prepping the C4. Sent flying over towards default. Able to rotate. No, that gets shot out instead. But with 4 seconds to go, they need to get the plant, but it doesn't even matter as Emporium is there after shooting the C4 mid-air. Waits for the head, sprays, finds it, in LVC taking a 3rd consecutive round in a dominant fashion, even when it's in the trade games.
Thanks.
Yes, Yali?
What do you do if you're UND Green right now?
Oh, simple. You call a tactical timeout. You figure out.
Okay, that's 100% true. Right.
I don't know what else you want me to say there, but you call it tactical timeout because you have a tech pause, which is very different. You're dealing with a
Mhm.
problem. You're not really addressing the problems that are going on in the game. What you got to do
Mhm.
here, it doesn't matter what you talk about. You can go and just have your own little podcast with the boys going on in your little your timeout, and just
Right.
having
Attackers
just
need
like
to locate
getting
and defuse
everything
the
off
bomb.
your chest. You should be laughing. You should be having fun. Yes, this is a very tense moment, but through everything that I've done, through a lot of plays, a hockey game that I was commentating the other day, one of the big things that I wanted to note was even when one of the teams was losing early on, it was smiles, it was laughs. They were having a good time and they were hyping each other up to be able to make amazing plays. You need that confidence. So for UND Green, you have a quick timeout, address some of the key problems, do this, and then have a joke, break the tension. You're playing a video game, for Pete's sake. Have some fun.
10 seconds
That's
left.
my response. That's my
I totally
cold-hearted
dig it.
Canadian.
No, I totally dig it. Of course, a Canadian would be talking about hockey or whatever, but but beyond that, I totally agree. They need to change up the pace. I don't know what that means. They made an aggressive play and it paid off pretty well, but like they had a strong advantage in the second round. They were up 4-2. They just couldn't figure out where the plant was going down. You know, little adjustment to be made there, but at the end of the day, you just need to change up the pace. And honestly, I think they have. Look at this. This is an aggressive lineup. Just a few operators to slow down your opponents and other operators to get aggressive against them. It's pretty simple. They've ditched the castle idea. I think that is probably the play here. And it Oh, it was Wamai, I guess.
It was a
I was
Wamai,
gonna
yeah.
say, yeah, I was like,
Using
did
first
Ash
person.
just shoot the Rotaro drone? No,
No,
I'm pretty sure
no.
it was Wamai. Here we go.
So we got Plexios. They have the goo mine that they've spotted out, and you know that when you knife the floor and break that, you're going to give a little bit of audio, but Sloth rotating back into reading room. They're trying to play as much of a roam game as possible, and it gives me a little bit more questions than answers, and these goo mines are doing a great job of slowing things down just enough.
The Rome game is giving LBC more questions than answers too. Hey, where did Legion go? They don't know yet. He shot so many of their flank cams, their resets that they have to try and catch out these roamers. Now he's just in pillar. UND Green has full control over pillar, and while there is going to be some aggression into it, they've got a Legion downstairs and the Warden playing up here by the chassis. There is no chance of them to really take strongly into Shaiko. You find out the firefight finally, and Brick is going to be the first one that goes down. But they've wasted lots of time in the meantime.
Yeah, look at the key aggression points from LVC of not overextending and waiting for a player like Brick, who's in a vulnerable position, just overextend slightly. Renegade doing a great job to get a refrag onto Reliable. And look at that. Cole is coming up big. Down goes the Senate. 3-4. This is the hype. As soon as you have this man advantage, you want to keep cool, calm, collected, while still hyping your team up as much as humanly possible. Plexios knows how to shut that down, is able to find one. Downing Slot. There's two for Plexios. Davies still trying to get in on the action as Cole's caught upstairs, but they are not going down without a fight. Plexios on a triple before getting refragged by Frosted. We're down to a 1v1. This round has the ability to turn the tide of the entire matchup. Emporium has the confidence, has the 3 rounds behind them, but Frosted has that anticipation, the unwavered, unfiltered energy. Can they swing around with it? The top frag of UND Green. Can they find any sort of round count for them? No, it's going to be Emporium to shut down the dreams of UND Green. Heartstakingly so. As LVC goes up 4-0 on their map pick of Cafe.
That is such a brutal
Ouch.
loss. That is a mental killer. You know, they got their mentals back. They heard us from beyond the cast and they said, yeah, you know what? We're going to play our game. We're going to dial in and we're going to do our thing. And they did. And they did a good job. They were going toe to toe with Lebanon Valley. Even once Plexios went off and got that 3K that evened it back out, the trade was still there by a very nice shot from the Malusi player, leaving them in a 1v1. But at the end of the day, this is what I've talked about since I think halfway through Clubhouse. LBC has got some nasty mechanical skills, some nasty game knowledge. And they are just, even though UND Green talented team, excellent coordination, working together very well. Lebanon Valley, they're just shooting. They're just shooting them. And when it comes down to a 1v1, when you've got two players who are mostly reliant on their gun skill, 9 times out of 10, Lebanon Valley is going to be the team that comes out on top.
I'm very curious right now as to I'm always wondering what the comms are like. What is the mentality like? What's the environment? Because that's something that at least you're able to see at a LAN, that when I'm doing football, I can go and see that these players are coming to the side and having these chats, and I can see them hyping each other up. That's something that I don't know for these teams, and that element of unknown can either be a very positive thing or it can cause me to have a couple more doubts, where UND Green's current setup only uses 5 of the 10 reinforcements that you're available to use. You ban out someone like the Twitch, and you're not taking the Mira, as you feel that that's not going to assist you enough, as there hasn't been a cocktail push, and that can be the right call, but it's just getting caught out in the wrong position. Plexios taking out Brick extremely early on, and that being the dock, an operator you really don't want to lose, because you have that chip damage that you're able to deal with. So once I feel that we are personally being left with more questions than answers here, Yali.
You can't see my screen. I don't know why Brick is there. I appreciate that Brick is getting aggressive and trying to play his game. He was just not in the right position there. Moving on from that,
I get it. I feel like
UND
it's one of
Green's
those
in a tough
places
spot.
you feel where it's still safe, but it just doesn't give off that sort of energy. Davy's able to stack on by taking out Renegade. Plexios making their way up. Cocktail even dealing with a proximity mine as you have players waiting from down below, not expecting Plexios to be pushing all the way up from plates. The repel in is going to have to be a spray. Double kill for Davies. Down goes Sloth. There's only 2 players remaining in Cole and Frosted. And I believe they're sitting right down below trying to hold sight best they can. And that's the problem with the second floor, or sorry, a third floor hold. If you're not able to properly take all the time away from the attackers, you're going to leave your remaining defenders in a rock and a hard place, as Frosted, on the Frost of all operators, is jumping between rooms trying to find a safe angle. And I hate to break it to you, there is not a single area of this floor that will be safe as you try to try to give yourself the room, and you have to wonder left to right. 5 attackers are looking for Cole going on to this aggressive peek upstairs. You got to collect onto that frag, but it's hard when you spring the trap. Plexios able to collect yet another frag to their name. 11-3 in this matchup. An absolute madman. The Senate going for the plant. Springing the trap will be Frosty, dealing with the contention from up above. What a flick! Down goes Davies, but Plexios able to find it, as you cannot keep flicking and flicking. It's too hard to do that one. As round 6.
UND Green aren't chumps.
No,
they're not. This is a talented
good.
team.
Like they're playing good. Quite well, just shut down at the last minute. It's really tough to see, and I don't think the scoreline reflects that.
No, I mean, a lot of these rounds have been pretty close, right? We had a 4v2 for UND Green. We had a 1v1. You know, we've had a handful of close rounds. Lebanon Valley just keeps pulling it out of their sleeves. They really do. The absolute massacre on the top floor that I want to mention. UND, they're trying to change the pace, but they're trying to get aggressive. I genuinely think at this point, if North Dakota University takes a step back and just baits Lebanon Valley into firefights that they think they can win, or even better, baits them into trying to take a firefight and then leaving right before the firefight happens, which is what they should have been doing on Cocktail rather than losing 3 bodies there, right? That could be the thing that gives them a chance on this defensive half. But right now, they're down 0-5 things, and that is just an absolutely brutal scoreline to be looking at. It's crushing. It's crushing. It is soul-numbing. That's the kind of scoreline that you look at and just go, well, I guess I'll just play my best game, and then you go into autopilot.
Yeah, it's that active mindset. I talked about me questioning LVC, and it's a really quick point that I made, but it's one that I really stress with a lot of teams that I stress for, especially in esports more than anything else. It's the question, what am I doing at Y? I can pause a VOD at any single moment, question any of these LVC players and say, what are you doing in Y? And if I catch you during a round, anytime I pause, what am I doing and why, without an active mindset, or even if I'm there reminding you to have that active mindset, you can take your game to the next level. So if you're a Siege player, if you're in any esports player, Valorant, anything you can go into autopilot for, question yourself, what am I doing and why? Why is this important to my team? Cole, why are you pushing into code check and check in front door? How is this important to your team? And you're able to hold down that hallway, and that's why. But it's just about having that active mindset. Why are you doing exactly these actions? And you don't always need to explain yourself. Sometimes you let that gut instinct as a player take over, but it needs to have a lot of impact. You need to make that positive impact on your team. Renegade Spring, why do you see it valuable to take this peak? To get the man advantage going my way. Do you have the advantage in peaking this? Most likely not. And I'll digress, but it's that active mindset that you need to constantly consider.
Warden in a tough spot. Absolutely no way he can peek this prep window. And so much pressure mounting from the bakery side. At any moment, this is going to explode. And we're still in a 5v5. Lots of long angles being held down by UND Green. But if LVC has anything to say about it, they're already going to start cutting them off. Warden down, out of the count. And with an aggressive play, Plexios has put himself in and finds another.
Oh, Plexios able to get out 3. Make that 4 for Plexios. Springing the trap on the site, looking for the ace, hunting for it. Sloth, inside freezer, looking towards the window. Can they find even a single body from the side of LVC? Plexios sitting on the Capitao, knows where to look for this angle. Can they find the ace? Spraying for it. Sloth waiting, shuts down Plexios. Can they isolate the 1v1? Can they keep it going? This is the energy we've been waiting to see from them, but no. Davies with a long angle all the way from cooking behind the entire metal chassis will allow for LVC on the cusp of match and series point in your NECC Champions League division.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the grand finals, the match that you hope to be the closest, and we're sitting here on the final map. Side swap has just occurred. Lebanon Valley is leading against the University of North Dakota University green roster 6-0.
Ouch.
Ouch. That is painful. That's hard to look at if you're a UND Green fan. Lebanon Valley, though, they're happy and they are going into this half ecstatic, but we do have the side swap. This is an opportunity right now. UND Green can change the pace, right? I mentioned that this map can be very sided. That doesn't necessarily mean defender sided or attacker sided. We see it go defender sided or attacker sided a lot of the time, right? One or the other.
It's going to be a perfect reverse sweep, and I don't know how much... Listen, you're talking to one of the most optimistic casters you will ever meet, Ali, and I don't know. I really
That's
much do not
Topium
know.
right now. I'm sorry, Banks. No, I can see it happening. No. I can see UND getting this reverse. I can see it happening. But it's gonna be a long uphill battle if they're gonna pull it off.
You can stop worrying about it.
Yeah, I've been wrong just one too many times today, and you know what? This is the one time I'd love to be wrong. I want to see UND Green come back from this one, but look at the play style from LVC. They have kept the gas, or their foot on the gas pedal. Are they going to go for a couple more aggressive peaks than they should? Most likely, yes. Reliable, getting ready for it. Springing the trap, running out, not going to happen. I'm left with a lot of questions here. And the reason why I keep saying questions is because LVC has the formation. They have all the power and that they are looking for in this matchup. If we go and look at UND Green, their formation, they're not getting set the way that they typically should. They're feeling slow. Tell me, what are you doing? Why? You collected, oh, there's a player inside of a bathroom. Good with the nade. But the problem that I'm seeing is that you are not necessarily ready for exactly what things will bring. Reliable, first of all, Brick was able to spring the trap, jumping into reading room, and that's with the shotgun. Not exactly what you'd expect, but a very welcome change of pace. UND able to collect.
I'd like to point out with Brick too. He has been the opening death in 4 rounds of the defending side. Now finally finding the opening pick with his aggression, and Cole bringing it right back after him. And a second as well, finally shut down, but that's giving yourself a 2-4 lead. Now UND Green has the option to do what they do best. Collect information, look for the kills, and there we go! UND Green fighting their first on the map. Is this the beginning of the end for LVC?
That was clean.
Yeah, that was nice. Look at that great.
Oh.
Pass that copium over here. I gotta get a whiff of that.
There's one. We'll see how many they can claw back. They haven't won me for just yet. And they really did spring the trap there. I was not expecting that, as we had a few players that were not on the same pacing as the others. Cole, we mentioned their ability to spring the trap and go in on their own, but they still had a little bit of assistance. They had a clear comms, and sometimes when you throw enough stuff at the wall, some of it has to stick. Pasta, that's the word. Pasta at the wall.
Yeah, but the thing is, right now, everything that they throw at the wall has to stick. They only have to lose one round, which at the end of the day, you can play near perfect siege. W7M at the Atlanta Major, if you watch them, they played near perfect siege, as perfect as we've probably ever seen in this entire esport. They still lost rounds.
10 seconds remaining.
You know, they still lost rounds.
Yep.
Is UND Green, are they going to
5
play
seconds remaining.
perfect siege? We'll see.
Will LVC play perfect siege? That's the question. Some teams just don't know how to finish a match. Oh, there's so many questions to be asked, and the only thing that will answer it is time. Time will tell in this case. Will LVC get a little bit too aggression? Another thing that they can even opt to go for is, if they feel that they are very good at playing that retake type of game, they can go and leave site and come back once there's a case, or once their opponents try to make an impact. But all it takes is one LVC player. It doesn't have to be Plexios. It can be any one of them to just step up in a very dominant way. And great use of the Flores drone, but you're going to get muted out. Deal with that sooner rather than later, and that's a big use of the Twitch being banned out in this matchup. He was actually banned out by UND Green, so that must be hurting a little bit, as I would have expected them to want to have the Twitch in their possession, as they're the ones using it to great effect. Once again, inside. Oh, that's a great use. You got to make sure that you have someone there ready to deal with Emporium, but able to go and maneuver around the Twitch drone. The Senate will be able to take out Renegade. That's your ace. That's a really tough person to lose, all from playing inside a prep room. Case down right on the door. Cole able to find the Senate. That's the mute being refragged inside. Meanwhile, Emporium behind inside Bakery has an nade. Cook right behind them. Down they go. Bakery control now in the hands, undoubtedly, for UND Green. They have to be wary of the red corridor, as Brick's the one who's been holding it. Waiting for it. Sloth takes out Davies. Plexios, Reliable. The remaining two players, Reliable, holding around front door as Plexios make their way in. Reliable will hit a Claymore, and inside the site, Plexios able to find one. And gonna have to find three more. Go for the revive onto their downed comrade of Reliable inside a double door. But they've definitely exposed their location briefly. Holding long. Cole going for the plant. This is exactly what you want to have, the revive. But you need to have information. You should be turning to hold that hallway if you're Brick. And now, with this lack of information, they can go and continue to rotate up. Reliable can't push necessarily into this. He's going to have to wait for the Capitao to rotate down. Plexios way in. That's a second on the round. Down goes Cole. They can continue to imprint and make more progression towards site inside a freezer. Spraying down that hallway. Brick will find Reliable. Can Plexios, the fragging machine of this matchup, make some magic happen? Looking for it. Nope. Brick will shut them down. And that's the second round for UND Green.
UND Green suddenly turning it on, and I know what LVC is looking at. They're saying, oh, these guys can't handle aggression. Look at what we just did on attack. We're getting in their faces. We're going, we're getting aggressive, and it's not working on defense. Hang on, because UND Green, what they're doing right now is they're feeding it right back to them, and Lebanon Valley has not once in this entire game proved their ability to step away from the aggression. I see it over and over again. A team gets aggressive, and you just want to be aggressive right back. You want to start swinging.
Attackers need to
You want to start throwing punches. That can't be done. It doesn't work like that. You have to expect what your opponents are going to do. Instead of playing to make a mistake, you have to play to force your opponents to make a mistake. Lebanon Valley has not proven themselves able to do that once in this entire matchup. If UND Green can keep the gas pedal on the floor for the rest of this map, they might be able to pull off an overtime win.
That's a big ask, and saying it and doing it are two completely different things. And the drones escaping, 3 drones from the side of UND, going the way of LVC are not the best sort of amount you'd want, and the drone of Renegade almost getting taken out there as well. A very sticky situation, if you ask me. You want to have as much action as possible, but the way that they were able to attack this top floor previously should not be slept on. But that was a perfect. You can't just shake by like the perfect half that Lebanon Valley had. There's no denying it, and we see that same aggression from Bricky of the Dokkaebi. Your Dokkaebi should not be your first point of contact. That needs to be something that goes in slightly later that can use those drones, use the information that has been given to the team. Renegade is the one on Repel and will most likely be the first point of contact in this game.
I like the way that this is being played because while Reliable is in that position, he's trying to be a little bit more reliable and just get out of that position. He wants to stay alive. He wants to predict what the opponents are going to do, right? He's currently 1-5. He's not looking for picks. He's just looking to waste time. Maybe he's looking for picks. Hey,
oh, you always want that pick.
Reliable, not quite a... Oh, you always want it, but you don't need to look for it. Okay, all they need to do right now is slow down UND Green, and by being off-site, he's doing a fantastic job at that, just all on his own.
Yeah, Sloth left with more questions of where they are. Oh, there we go. Nicely done, Cole. And that's going to be
able
to get Cams. Wow! Okay, this is a round being flipped on its head, and we have the Gridlock Track Stinger sent through the rooftop. Drone being sent out. Emporium is going to be very important as they're holding down Cigar and can stop a lot of these default plans. You also have the Warden of Davies sitting inside. This is an entire lineup, a setup, if you will, from LVC. Catering, trying to wait for the plant to come down. The Senate on the Thorn also waiting for those key impact points, playing the exact same way Frost would. This is meant to really tailor to UND Green overextending, but they're not going to do that. Playing for pick by pick, waiting for each other to get into position. These Dokkaebi phone calls, there's no mute to go and disable this information game that has been so prominent in the second half. Spraying, trying to find the Warden, will be Renegade, not able to collect, knowing they have Case. They have more important things to do. Plexios, now inside Cocktail Bar. Down goes the Senate as a form of brick. Flash up. Waiting, trying to find the Frost, and it's going to be a cleanup, a flawless round from UND Green. What is going on? I don't even understand reality at this point, Yali.
I'm telling you, it's exactly what I said. UND Green turned on the lights. They went from autopilot to flow state. They stepped up, and they are prepared for every single swing that comes their way. And because of that, every time Lebanon Valley makes a swing, it is a mistake. They are losing the firefights. UND Green has turned on their brains, and they are performing at a maximum capacity right now. And LVC, they need to put them on ice. They need to take a step back. They need to be the ones playing passive, forcing UND Green to make the mistake. That's why they're taking a timeout. They have to cool down now, because if they keep making mistakes, if they keep being the ones swinging and dying early on, this can very quickly go to a 6-6. This is how these comebacks happen. Exactly like this. I will say, though, even if they cool down, we've seen it over and over and over again with UND Green. They get the information, they call an X, and they do it, and they win the round. That's what they do.
I don't think everyone for LBC is taking their foot off the pedal. I just think that you have key important players. We saw a really good point to look at the scoreboard, and Reliable, Senate, and Emporium. And I'm not going to discredit their performances in this matchup because the utility they have brought to the table has definitely turned the table and really allowed for Davies and Plexios to really frag out. But this is the argument when you have 5 players, 8-8, 6-7, 6-6, 9-6, 5-6. All these players are now coming to the table. When you have 5 players with the capability of getting those frags and shutting down your team, that makes a really big difference in turning the tide, and a consistent team is better than a show-up team. But the thing is, and I'm going to say it again, call me a pessimist all you want, but I am a realist in this scenario. LVC, with their fragging capability of Davies and Plexios, all they need is one more show up, one more crazy performance from them, and this entire game is done. This entire match is done, and we are going to be crowning our champions. Slap that on a t-shirt, please.
What's UND got in store? What's UND got in store? I mean, it's a new site.
So
Maybe
we
yet.
haven't seen the middle floor, Yali. So I'm expecting
Mhm.
more. I want to see the sandwich. I don't think we're gonna see it, but we could see the cookie cutter as always. Ooh.
I see him. Put up the wall behind him. Make sure that there's a chance here, but nothing yet. UND
I
is
think
looking
it's
for
the
this. This
calm.
is the UND thing. This is what they keep doing over and over again. And LVC, I think, is responding to it well. They're not falling to the pressure. They're not taking the aggression because they don't need to. They have time
Uh-oh.
advantage.
Davies is getting caught in a really weird position here. No one able to access cams when you have all 5 alive and a Dokkaebi call going off. Reliable sitting on white stairs. This sort of push is very catered to having UND have to have some form of aggression. You can't jump in, and that aggression might be Brick on the 3rd floor as they're gonna sound their second phone call. Waiting for it. You have a few different options here. 2 players of Emporium as well as Plexios. Some huge fraggers on the 2nd floor. Plexios going and playing by pallets. What I need to highlight here and emphasize in this sort of scenario is that you're at a minute 20 and you have not pressured the entire any part of the east side. You need to get a lot more pressure there, and I'm very scared for UND Green as they have not initiated any sort of coverage.
But they are initiating this push, right? Something strong that we've seen from UND Green are these aggressive executes later in the round. We've got a minute left. The Sledge hitting that. He's gonna expect it. Frosted, dusted off the board. Reliable, finally picking up his 2nd on the match. And now suddenly he's in a difficult situation, but he's still got players coming after him. Emporium on a 2nd, and it's finally gonna be the death of Reliable. But UND Green has found themselves in a disadvantage for the first time this half.
Brick swinging around, has to find this kill in the Plexios. They're going to drop down the hatch, looking for the machine pistol kill. Huge shot from Brick. Going to drop, finds Plexios. Unaware, but no. Plexios swings with the SMG-11. Good for 1, good for 2. Down goes Cole. Refrag by Davies, but no. It's going to be LVC to come out on top from the Valkyrie that stayed alive inside a train museum. And your Rainbow Six Siege champions of LVC have been crowned.
Absolutely dominant performance, and yes, North Dakota University looking strong there at the end, looking like they might bring it back, but at the end of the day, LVC, they showed that they have, say it with me, the adaptability to change the way that they play, to go into a different play style and expect what UND is going to do. UND finally started expecting this aggression, these powerful, strong swings, plays coming out from LVC. It took 6 rounds, but they did do it, and they were looking so solid there at the end. But LVC at
Too
the
little,
end of
too
the day,
late.
they switched it up.
I
And
think
UND
that's my
wasn't
motto
able to
for the game.
perform.
Too
A little
little,
too late.
too late from UND
Yeah.
Green. If we would have seen that even like halfway through the game earlier, when I said get that tactical timeout, get into the game, we saw LBC call their timeout and they were able to turn it on right away. Not right away, of course, but close enough.
Yeah.
Where they did start to make a really big impact. And
Yeah, they
the
only needed
score,
the last,
I don't
you know.
think the score line reflects the way this game actually played out. I think that there was multiple times when UND Green were on that defensive end when they really should have had the round and they just couldn't secure it. But I digress. LVC are your rightful champions as they won all 3 in 3 consecutive maps. A really big fight on Clubhouse just to turn the tide their way and all the way back to our first map of Bank where they just continue to catch UND Green out in the open. I was very, very impressed.
Deeply impressive from LVC Green, truly showing that they had the right to be the top here, the absolute kings of this roster. But we are going to be going for an interview in just a little bit. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and hop to a break. We'll be back when we have that ready for you.
Welcome back to your NECC Rainbow Six Siege, and we're joined by one of your champions, Plexios, the fragging myth and legend. How are you doing today after this win?
Feeling good. How about you guys?
I think that we just enjoyed an absolutely riveting matchup, and your ability to just frag out like I've never seen was just absolutely astonishing. Can you just walk me through how you keep a stable mind throughout the entirety of a best of 5?
Well, we knew it would be a long haul. We played these guys about 3 weeks ago. It went map 3, very good series. So we did a lot of VOD review, and they honestly played the same way they did the first time we played them, super slow on attack, super spread apart on defense, and we just found the gaps. I mean, I'm sure you saw in the attacks, but I found a gap, and then they just gave me 4 1v1s in a row. So just finding the space and trying to switch up every time. Like we do a back take, next time we do a front take, stuff like that. Just keep them guessing.
Yeah, so I also just wanted to ask, I guess I'll ask one combination question and then another. What were you feeling going into the timeout, and what did you talk about during it, just during that last map?
Well, we essentially were just playing like sitting ducks, like 5 people in different spots. There was no team play. So we went reading, where it's theoretically the tertiary site, but the offense has to do a lot of like weird taking and gunfights. And you saw they just essentially funneled, and I just won some key gunfights at the end, and they ran out of time, ran out of steam. So the timeout was just basically, let's play our game, keep getting in their face, not let them do what they want.
You know, excellent. And the other question is one that I expect you probably aren't going to want to answer, but what could the North Dakota University have actually done there to like actually start shutting you guys down?
I mean, defensively, more like aggressive roams. Like they never contested us on the entry. Even when they're roaming, we're getting in the map, getting in places. They kind of just felt a little bit loose today, like not super together, which they weren't the first time we played them. But again, it was a couple different maps, so there's that. But on attack, it was really just that they were too slow, and we could tell what their execute was like 30 seconds into the round. So just try to be a little bit more unpredictable is what I would have told them.
Can you speak a little bit to the bans now, where we saw that you took the Montang on the first map, and immediately from the second and third, Montang was then on the no-fly list. Can any reasoning behind that?
So yeah, we've never played them on Bank, and we like Monty on Bank. As you saw, we used it for a couple of our takes. And when we played them on Clubhouse and Border last time, actually, they played Monty a ton, and it kind of just takes away that aspect that we like, which is the gunfights, the funneling. So we just figured get it out. Usually we've been OSA, and these guys have not played OSA a single time, so we just figured Monty was the play.
I think that acts as a good segue into my next question. You talk about the prep work. So you mentioned that you went and looked and saw that they were playing very similar to the last time. What sort of VOD review are you doing with your team? And is there anyone that takes more of a forefront when trying to crack down and decipher any more of their overall tendencies?
I mean, honestly, I would say that I do most of the watching, and then I bring it to my team, kind of discuss what I saw. The good thing is, like I said, we played them 3 weeks ago, so everything's fresh. They did the same stuff, like I said. It was actually, Clubhouse was actually our best map all semester, and then they beat us on it 3 weeks ago. But as you saw, we figured it out. We knew exactly what they're going to do, and yeah, we just went from there.
And more moving towards like some of my final questions, can you just speak to the LVC group as a whole? As how have you built throughout this semester, and how, as a student, if you're going to go and talk to other student esport athletes, how do you balance your time, and how do you make the most of every time you have the time to play the game?
Yeah, so I also actually play on a comp team in like the open circuit, so it's a lot of playing for me, but I mean, my team, they love to play, and like we do it because we love each other. They're some of my best friends at the campus. Reliable actually didn't even play Siege until the start of last semester, which I think is incredibly
that's amazing.
It's crazy that he's this good already. It is. So I mean, everyone wants to win, everyone wants to improve, and that's really all that matters.
All right, I'm going to throw the floor to you on this final question. Is there anyone you want to thank now that you are your NECC Champions League champions?
Just thank my team, thank my friends and family who support, especially my boys in the Party Favors group chat. They're my goats. And just everyone who tunes into the streams, even the UND fans who are here. Thank you guys for making it an exciting series. And I had a blast. That was a great series.
Well, Plexios, thank you very much for joining us, and I wish you luck on your exam season. I know that students all over the world are not looking forward to it. I know myself, I'm going home and it's straight to the books, but life is life, and at least you have a title that you can hopefully take tonight off and enjoy with your fellow teammates.
100%. Thank you, guys.
No problem. Have an awesome night. Enjoy.
You too.
Well, you just heard from Plexios. Absolutely wonderful to have the opportunity to speak with them. They did an absolutely phenomenal job, and I'd like to go and try to add up the amount of kills they got in this entire matchup, because that probably might be more kills than I got in probably 2 years of playing Siege when I was playing it actively. Not to say that I was bad at the game. I was a support player. Yali.
No,
Thank you for the
don't
pity
even get me
laugh.
started. No, listen, I was in a grand final. I don't remember which collegiate league it was, but I went 1-19 over a best of 3. So
It hurts. There's a reason
it
why we're in the
hurts. It
booth.
does. Yep,
But
exactly. No, you get
I
it.
want to thank you for hopping in here and joining me,
Mm.
and thank you to our production team. I've had a blast working with them throughout this NECC season, and thank you to you, the viewers, for tuning in, as it's been an absolute wonderful road. And we'll be back with more Rainbow Six Siege coverage next semester. But for now, these students have to get to work and make sure that they continue to excel both academically as well as in the esports industry. So closing out, I've been Binks, joined by the wonderful Yali. Stay safe, everyone, and go check out NECC on all of your socials.